Clockspeed 3.0 on the theme Innovating Supply Chain for the Future. We now invite all the faculties and guests to come forward to inaugurate Clockspeed 3.0 by lighting the lamp. So please. Thank you, everyone. Today, we will be discussing one of the most critical functions of any business, supply chain and operations. In the increasingly competitive business environment, efficient and effective supply chain and operations can provide a significant competitive advantage. As managers and business leaders, it is crucial that we understand the complexities of supply chain and develop strategies to optimize these functions to meet customer needs and drive business success. We will explore the latest trends and best practices in supply chain management and learn from industry experts on how to apply these concepts to improve our business operations. Over to you, Saurabh.
Thank you, Saryu. Good morning and welcome, everyone. Clockspeed 3.0 aims to provide a platform for sharing best industry practices and their views on what strategies the organization can implement to navigate their organization through turbulent times and make them future ready. Through a series of interactive panel discussions and keynote addresses by industry leaders, innovating the supply chain for the future is key to meeting the demands of the ever-changing market and consumer needs. Advancement in technology have allowed for the development of automated systems and robotics, data analytics, sustainability practices, collaboration, and a culture of innovation. These innovations can help businesses reduce labor cost, improve accuracy, and increase efficiency. Collaboration and partnership with suppliers and logistic providers can help improve the efficiency and resilience of the supply chain. Our speakers are here to guide us all the way to deep dive into Clockspeed 3.0. As an audience, be ready to be challenged and inspired. The conclave starts with an inaugural address by Professor Alok Raj, XLRI Jamshedpur. Our chief speaker will be Mr. Subhash Arya, CEO APAC, Tesla Power USA. We have our first panel on the topic supply chain analytics, shaping the future of logistics and supply chain management, which will be discussed by Mr. Milind Kanitkar, Managing Director, Principal, Chainalytics, Mr. Abhay Srivastava, President Operations, Mankind Pharma Limited, Mr. Somo Kundu, Operations Director East, DHL Supply Chain India Private Limited, Mr. Pushkar Mukherjee, Vice President and Head of Supply Chain, Imami Agrotech Limited, Mr. Rajneesh Raman, Founder and CEO, Celsius Logistics Solution Private Limited. The panel will be moderated by Sanjana Vashne, a student of PGDM GM. The second panel is titled Importance of ESG in Supply Chain Management, which will be discussed by Mr. Ranjan Sinha, Global Solution and Implementation, Envision Enterprise Solution America Incorporation, Mr. Anish Aziz, Head Logistic Optical Network Business, XLRI Technologies Limited. Mr. Senthil Indiran, Head and Senior Director, ERP Supply Chain Practice, Oracle Global Services Center, OGSC. Mr. Pershuramesh Shavakula, Vice President, Head Supply Chain, Hikal Limited. The panel will be moderated by Mohammad Adib, a student of PGDM GM. Sorry.
The third panel is titled Global Supply Chain Collaboration Through Transparency, which will be discussed by Mr. Jayanandan Vasudevan, Senior Director Supply Chain Management, DKSH, Mr. Shubhankar Chatterjee, Chief Supply Chain Officer, Cummins India Limited, Mr. Rajiv Bhattacharya, Chief Operating Officer, V Express, Mr. Vijay Shetty, Vice President and Global Head of Distribution and Logistics, Alchem Laboratories, Mr. Shashi Shekhar Tripathi, Co-Founder, eShips. The panel will be moderated by Shivang Chaudhary, student of PGDM GM.
So thrilled to see so many enthusiastic future leaders and industry leaders joining the conclave to celebrate the genius innovation upon which the whole event is built upon. Mr. Alok Raj is an associate professor at XLRI Jamshedpur, and he has received PhD in operation management from IIM Lucknow. He teaches several operations and supply chain related courses in various programs. He has 7 years of industry experience, including in the steel and aerospace sector before his PhD. His research primarily focused on sustainable supply chain and digital technology. He has published more than 15 peer-reviewed articles in scholarly journals, including the European Journal for Operational Research, the International Journal of Production Economics, Energy Economics, and others. His paper related to Industry 4.0, published in IJPE, is the most cited article in the past 3 years. He is doing several research works in collaboration with several leading companies such as Tata Steel, Tata Motors, ITC, and others. I would like to invite sir to give the inaugural speech. Over to you, sir.
So thank you very much for introducing me. Very good morning to all. You all seems very tense. This is not a quiz, not an exam, so be relaxed. And okay. So thank you for introducing me and very good morning to all of you. I'm very delighted to participate in this inaugural of the supply chain conclave Clockspeed 3 on the theme Innovating Supply Chain for the Future, organized by XLRI, Jamshedpur, XLRI, PGDM, GM students. I greet all the specialists, distinguished guests, Mr. Subhas Arya and other delegates, and my colleagues and the students. I think the theme Innovating Supply Chain for the Future, which has been picked for this conclave, is timely. Innovating the supply chain is essential to meeting the demands for ever-changing market and consumer needs. Innovation is very much heart of the supply chain. We could argue it is always so, whether it's a manufacturing plant or the port or any other aspect in the supply chain. But in recent time, technological innovation or revolution pushing supply chain for more innovation, but at same time, supply chain are more diverse, as supply chain objective is not only maximizing profit, but also look from the planet and social perspective. So this makes supply chain more complex, as well as for manager, it's also challenge to take a decision by considering all three aspects simultaneously. Supply chain management has always been key to industry. However, the pandemic has emphasized just how important this function is. The earlier supply chain is more concentrated on a form or the boundary level, but in recent time, it spread over at the top levels or at the maybe either country level. For instance, in February 24, 2022, President Biden signed executive order directing all of the government approach to assessing risk in and strengthening the resilience of the United States critical supply chain. Similarly, in our country, Prime Minister launched PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan for multimodal connectivity to provide integrated and seamless connectivity for movement of people, goods and services for one mode to another. It will facilitate the last mile connectivity of infrastructure and also reduce travel time for the people. For today, I have 5 basic points that I would like to discuss. First is for the supply chain angle, why collaboration between industry and academia is important and how such type of conclave may help. Second is technology in the supply chain. Third is sustainability. Fourth is transparency, and fifth one is diversity. So first is collaboration between industry and academia. One of the things we really need to understand is that if we are really looking at partnership in these schools, sure it is faculty and academic, sure it is business, but it is also a new generation of employee, and that new generation of employee are students. So I really think we need a dialogue. It's a dialogue between all of three parties. So when a business school say we want to influence practice, there are 2 or 3 things we need to understand. First of all, influencing practice is a two-way street. If we want to influence practice, we first need to understand it. And for that understanding to happen, dialogue needs to happen. Now, what is the broad idea behind influencing practice? I think the first idea is this. There is a lot of research that we do as a researcher in academia, which is in the papers and does not reach the practice. A part of the reason is that some of this is the best kept in the papers because it is too theoretical to be practically applicable. The other part is that it doesn't stay because the academic are concerned about writing the papers and getting the publications. At the same time, the practitioner are also concerned about the next quarter target. There is nobody to translate to one of the big idea into the practice. And that is a role that institute which want to influence practice have to have to take complex theory, distill it down, make it practical, bring it to practitioners, get into a dialogue, and opportunity are just immense. I will give a just simple example. Behavioral economics as a field has been around for over 15 years in academia. But I recently, last year, an organization with a turnover of more than 30,000 crore, just by applying the principle of loss aversion to promotion communication, was able to get a benefit in excess of 2%. And you do the simple math on 2% or 30,000 crores. And what is same, this is saying something as simple as when we communicate a promotion, typically organizations are used to say, if we buy 100 units, we will get 200 rupees. Now loss aversion basically says that people dislike losing more than they like winning. So the same communication, you flip it around and say, please ensure that you buy 100 units because I don't want you to lose out on the benefit of 200. And when you just frame or reframe that communication, the impact goes up and either a small percentage change, but they are operating on a large base. I honestly believe that Indian business is moving towards global practice. The cutting edge practice of tomorrow is going to come from India. 2 days back, McKinsey CEO mentioned it is not India's decade, it is the India century. Now we as academic need to sit with practitioner, understand what we are doing, help you refine it, and also take that to world because the world needs to learn from India's tomorrow. So the point is that there is a real scope for creation of value. First step to creation of value is one conversation. The second is elimination of stereotypes. There is too much judgment on either side of the fence. There is too much stereotyping. So just type of conclave, this type of conclave is a small beginning in the direction to bridge this gap between academia and practitioner. If such type of conclave and dialogue continues and matures into partnership, then this makes sense. Otherwise, this is a mere beginning. So the value that we can create, if we truly have the openness to work together, is great, and we need to do it because India can become a superpower, and we need to work together, particularly from the supply chain practice. Now moving to technology part. Whenever I think about what are the new topics that is coming in the supply chain, I always go back and see what are the recent trends coming from Gartner Hype Cycle. In the Gartner Hype Cycle, there are different stages. They put blockchain, 5G. They have also mentioned AI, machine learning platforms, autonomous tracking, robotics, process automations. All have huge implications from the operations management and supply chain perspective. I think in future, 5 different areas that changing the landscape of supply chain and its interface. First is blockchain and disruptive technology. Second is healthcare analytics. Third one is social media analytics. Next one is omni-channel retailing and digital advertising. Blockchain is the most discussed technology in the recent time. We have done some research on the blockchain. Our research suggests that blockchain may impact the firm performance, but several challenges are also there regarding infrastructure, energy conservation, and other things. But companies are doing several research. A researcher is also
developing different framework to resolve such type of issue. Tesla is using blockchain for cobalt and nickel traceability in a pilot project across its supply chain. Tata Steel also implemented blockchain for their export business. Walmart is now using blockchain. In fact, we are doing one research with Walmart. Walmart is now using blockchain to create an automated process for handling invoices and payment for its 70 different third-party freight carriers. But I think that I'm very optimistic that this particular blockchain technology will mature in a maybe in the next few years, and this will be a next IT revolution, and it will impact huge way in the supply chain. Next is healthcare analytics. Hospitals spend nearly 1/3 of their overall operating expenses on healthcare supply chain management. Healthcare supply chain analytics is one particular technology that forward-thinking organizations are using to tackle rising supply chain costs and build a smarter, more proactive healthcare ecosystem. They are using powerful analytics tools to improve the performance of the supply chain process and strengthen their supply network to withstand disruption, to streamline tracking processes, automate time-consuming tasks, optimize inventory management, and enhance demand forecasting accuracy. Now coming to next part, which is sustainability and importance of ESG in supply chain management, which is also sub-theme of this conclave. This particular topic is close to my heart because my thesis is also related to this sustainability. So this particular sub-theme is very important for supply chain perspective. So resources are limited in nature, but demand is unlimited. So to match supply and demand, we have to focus on the sustainability. However, there is also apprehension, or there is a issue regarding that whether this particular adoption of sustainability is lead to desired success or not. However, research suggests that sustainability not kills the productivity, rather it also brings innovation, and thereby it improves for performance. For several, government has taken a pledge to become carbon neutral, and to align this pledge, several firms are taking initiative to become carbon neutral. So we are doing some research with some of the organizations that they are trying to become carbon neutral. But several issues are also there. For instance, we are doing one research with Tata Steel. So Tata Steel has implemented one particular technology to capture the carbon. But now when we started our project, so new problems arises. That let's say if you are capturing the carbon, then what will be the use of the CO2 that you are capturing? So new business model are coming and new opportunities are also coming. So we are developing on some framework, so how we can consider this carbon neutrality in totality in the form perspective, and how we can achieve the carbon neutrality. So now next is moving to transparency, which is also one of the sub-theme of this conclave, which is also very important. Most companies than ever before are disclosing information about their product and their supply chain to consumers. However, apart from compliance with regulatory requirement, the benefit of such disclosure are unclear. Companies are disclosing their product information, result of product testing, and supplier compliance of labor practices with consumer expected normal in annual report, sustainability report, and press release via third-party website. This company finds that choosing, collecting, and disclosing some information is costly, complicated, and time-consuming. So question is whether how much we have to reveal the informations. However, companies are putting effort to improve transparency, such as Marks and Spencer, a leading UK-based retailer, discloses the name of their suppliers, location of the supplier, percentage of female workers, each of the 1539 factories in 57 countries in an interactive map online. Similarly, in the retail industry, companies don't want to consumer share the information because they think that maybe their competitors will extract some of their ideas. However, some of the companies like San Francisco-based apparel retailer Everland, in pushing for radical transparency by revealing its supply chain cost, as well as average price, markup price by others in selling similar items. So traditionally, companies safeguard supply chain information to protect their competitive advantage in product development, production cost, product quality, and delivery speed. Therefore, companies fear losing their competitive edge, including through intellectual property leaks. It may be advantageous for companies to disclose supply chain information for two important reasons. One reason is that company can limit its reputational damages by publishing negative news proactively. That way, it avoids the risk of being exposed by the media, NGO, or government agency. The other is that company can increase sales if its disclosure helps build public trust and generates word of mouth marketing. However, many research question that still needs to be investigated, such as how does transparency offered by a company impact consumers' willingness to pay and actual purchasing of the company's product and services. Second could be how should companies collaborate with their supplier to improve transparency? So these research question still needs to be investigated. Now coming to my last segment, diversity. So again, it's a very close to my heart. I'm doing several research on the diversity. I've collaborated with many companies, including Tata Steel, Tata Motors, and ITC. So over the past 20 years, supply chain diversity has evolved from a compliance driven initiative to a corporate strategic imperative for leading corporation with a goal of driving economic impact within diverse communities. When I say diversity, I will talk about 4 themes. There are related to diversity at workplace, while one is related to supplier diversity. First thing I'm going to tell you is little funny, but it is actually much more sad. I went to one company last week, multinational company, and there were meeting. In that particular meeting, it was a group of 4 people, and they mentioned that there is a gender diversity in this particular group. Then I mentioned, where is the diversity? Then they mentioned that she left. So you had one lady in the team and she left. Now there are 2 problems with this, as per my understanding. The first problem is that the issue where you had only one lady. The second problem, which is actually very scary, is think of an organization where there was only one lady who had courage to work in a male-dominated function, and we know that supply chain is a male-dominated function, and CY level diversity. How easy is to work in an organization where your level is diversity? So when you look at gender diversity, I think what we are doing is the most cases is just lip service. So when you look at the gender diversity, I think what we are doing is the most cases is just, as I mentioned, lip service. So we are doing the percentage, we are not doing the fundamentals. I'm just being populist here. We need to start with the man. The male attitude are the biggest block of the gender diversity, as per my understanding. Secondly, it should not just be mandated percentage. There is enough research to show that if we have diversity in your boardroom or maybe in the supply chain, then your your innovation will improve. Why does it improve? There are people who understand 50% your consumer better. Husband don't claim to understand women. So the point is that if we don't have women on your board, how can we claim that you have to understand consumer in totality? But there are larger thing here, not only about male and female. I mean, there are issues in terms of thinking differently. But the point is that you should it because it is strategic in nature. You should not do it because there are percentage. The second issue is culture. And increasingly, you are doing work in the supply chain domain across country boundaries, different boundaries, sometime on your telephone or sometime on Zoom. And when you work at culture, I think we need to move beyond how we shake hands, and how we bow. And that first level of orientation, which says, don't make silly mistakes in interacting with another culture. We need to grow beyond that and talk about culture adaptability. And to me, I can interact with any culture, and there is a third level. And third level is, to me, when we meet somebody for the first time, it is nationality. When nationality moves humanity, then we have truly moved to culture diversity. So some of the companies are really, doing fantastic work in terms of disability, in terms of gender diversity. We have partnered with Tata Steel, which have employed more than 200 transgenders. Similarly, Nestle company, adopted their company framework so that any disabled people can also work. So fourth is supplier diversity. So we know that diverse supplier can be a cornerstone of any organization's success. When firms invest in supplier diversity, it helps to increase the pool of possible suppliers and promote healthy competitions, leading to better product quality, more innovation, and cost saving. Research also suggests that companies who dedicate 20% or more of their spend to diverse suppliers can attribute as much as 15% of their annual sales to supplier diversity programs. Larger organizations have found that their smaller diverse business partners can help them improve their own efficiencies and drive innovation. In fact, Google collaborates with diverse businesses to connect minorities, women, LGBT, the disabled, and veterans with business opportunities and foster innovation in the supply chain. Finally, I want to leave you with this thought that we need to change our definition of leadership. Leadership in India, and I think in the rest of the world, but more in India, have been hierarchical status based on the position. So the question every leader of tomorrow needs to be asked himself or herself: if I did not have the position, would people still follow me? And this may seem like a very harsh barrier, but I like to close with this: people will not follow you. I'm sorry. So you have to create a legacy that people follow after your position in the supply chain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for those inspiring words. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Subhash Arya, CEO, APAC, Tesla Power USA. Mr. Subhash Arya has done his MBA from FMS Delhi and has an experience of over 28 years across managing mobile phone services, operations, office equipment, automation, education, e-commerce in B2C and B2B segments, with primary focus on strategy formulation, business acquisition, operations management, distribution channels, business development, implementation. He was also the Regional Executive Officer with Etisalat DB Telecom Private Limited, COO Tata Teleservices, Circle Head, SR Cellphone, and Head Operation Meerut and Agra Escotel. He has been in various functions like business development, conceptualization, and implementation of strategies, revenue generation, and cost optimization. He has also launched and managed greenfield business ventures in urban and rural geographies by executing end-to-end development operations with key focus on bottom line. I would request Kanagraj sir to present a stool to Mr. Subhash Arya. So you can move.
Thank you. Am I audible? Hello? Hello? Good morning, everybody. All right. So I must thank the panel, Dr. Kanagraj, Dr. Olaf, and my colleagues here who have, we spent a very good evening, nice evening yesterday. We went around your campus, enjoyed the greenery around and fresh air. All right. So I would say that you are all very lucky people. So the very first question I asked when we were discussing, what is the expectation you are carrying? So can somebody say elaborate onto that? We were briefed. All right. So I will start one by one. First of all, the very first question asked to me was, this Tesla Power USA, is it Elon Musk company? So the answer is no. All right. Even in US, you have more than 300 companies who are very much into various businesses. They bear the name of Tesla. In India, we have more than 20-25 companies, much before Elon Musk came to India or the name came, right? In fact, one of the biggest generator manufacturers are in India, in Gujarat. They bear this Tesla name. All right. So I think that should be clear. So there is no Elon Musk here. Coming to the current topic, I would say that, yes, what is this supply chain management? It is, I personally feel it is the backbone. It is the backbone of the entire business and entire transaction and entire world for that to happen. If we are talking to each other, I am giving you something, I am talking to you, you are receiving it. There is a process into it. All right. And if the communication is not complete, I say something, you receive something else, then this SCM fails here. So what is this SCM world gives you? It supply chain management starts from everywhere. Yani, I mean, you are using WhatsApp today, the communication has to be complete. Okay, you are using Google to search, the communication has to be complete. If you, whatever you are searching, you are getting it. But if your perceived value is different, so in a nutshell, this whole process gives the clarity what consumer wants, what consumer is looking forward, and the companies have to supply that right from the manufacturing, from conceiving the product, from manufacturing the product, making the various lines, and the product reaches the customer in the right format. All right. So this whole process is actually SCM. In fact, if I have to define the business, there is no business. It is only SCM, only supply chain management. This is what we do every day, right? Now, various technologies have come up. All these technologies try to give you an edge. What was being done earlier, today you want to do better. So the data analytics or the AI, all will function if the men behind the machines will function properly. All right. They won't function themselves. So what is more important is clarity here. When I brought say telecom along with my friends to India, I was one of the first few telecom guys. We used to go to colleges like you, institutes like you, to tell them that please join us. And nobody used to say what telecom is. We were able to give you the #1 telecom network in the world. And this is only because of you. We were able to, the people like Mittal, people like Ruyas, then Vodafone, etc. Everybody came in. We were able to give you the product. We were able to tell that this industry can revolutionize the entire industries altogether. So what did we do? We provided you the media. You have used that media into various functions, right? So I think you know better than me if it comes to the knowledge what SCM is, but I will tell you what practically we do. I was talking to my friends yesterday. Whatever we people are talking about, we do it every day. The irony in India is, sir, with all due apologies, we talk of all developed economies. We talk of, say, this is what is happening in India. But we forget that India is one of the biggest market. We have people who can buy anything. We need to develop systems. We have to develop technologies. We have to develop infrastructure to reach them. My friend from Celsius yesterday, he was telling that they specialize in a particular technologies through which they can carry cold storage, whatever the medical supplies required, complete different temperatures. So they specialize in that and they act as an aggregator into it. The success will still depend on the infrastructure. So I think when you go from here, you definitely will be very well equipped to handle various business situations, but real situations when you encounter on the road, they are entirely different. So, sir, I think we need to develop certain interactions where how to do the objection handling which arise onto the field should be communicated, should be seen, should be taken as case studies along with this what we are doing today. So, I mean, this is a suggestion I am giving because I was talking to him yesterday that when you go to the Northeast, it's the untouched market. I personally feel it is going to be a gold mine for India for next 20 years. It's a huge market, unfortunately, all products sold in rest of the country are much cheaper than the products sold in Northeast, because we do not have the infrastructure there. We have the technology. People there are much more, say savvy with the computers. They are much more savvy with the gaming platforms. The maximum gaming revenues come from there. But I think you know it very well, how difficult it is to be there. So the demand, you see, whatever the analytics you will do, it will make you, I think it will give you the aid, how to forecast your demand, how to plan your inventory, how to plan your warehousing, how to go to the customer in the fastest or the most cost optimized way. But this all fails when you go to the field. So you need to learn also how to unlearn when you go to the field, right? Okay, in Tesla, what we have done, I'll just share with you. In Tesla Power USA, India, we have products like, we know that energy is going to be deficient all the time, right? So we specialize in making lithium ion as well as the lead acid batteries. We have our solar division also, where we provide solar solutions. And one of our product is a patented product where we take the, you see, electricity generated through solar cells is directly converted into AC, and you can use it simultaneously without getting into the grid. In a country like India, where solar energy is not, I mean, it is being wasted by the, farmers, in the sense, only they need 60 days of irrigation. Balance all days it is wasted. So we got into energy. This is one of the reasons. And now how we do it, I'll just give you the small thing. Another domain where we are into is EVs. Now, setting up any organization in EV say format, you require almost 100 acres of land. You require almost 2,000 to 3,000 crores. You need such a trained people who will simply do assembly. They won't do anything else, because all products which come to India or which are manufactured are modules, right? And then if I use my friend's services or my friend's services, they are going to add up to the cost, and they are going to be very costly to the customer, and we may not be able to reach them on time. So we have decided, you can, we have gone on to a hub spoke model. We have 24 factories all across India, almost every state. Now, I am telling you in layman's language, you can translate it into any other language, right? You make it a data analytics, you make it an AI, we have all the technologies, right? So these factories, they manufacture, we generate, we collect the demand. Factories, each factory has a capacity of around 5,000 vehicles per month, all right? And we use the loaders, small loaders, Tata Ace. We don't use the bigger trucks, okay? These loaders can go to the dealers who even want 4 vehicles. Now, this is what I wanted to share with you, that India is not that big a market. When you go abroad, you find beautiful, very well 3 acre, 4 acre, malls and showrooms where you can sell these products. We need to develop technology. We need to do the analytics. We need to get into where actually we cater the market what India is today. And let me tell you, friends, think global, but act local. This is very important today. You may think globally, I will do this thing, but locally, if you do not do it, you will miss the train. And I personally feel India is the market. My friend mentioned Biden in his discussion. I can assure you, sir, next 2-3 years onwards, India will be there everywhere. We are already a force, right? So technically, I can answer all the questions, because I launched the greenfield operations in telecommunications in various geographies of India, where from making the BTS, 5,000 BTS's installation in 1 month is something we can't do it if we do not have technology support from the SAM, various people behind them who are experts to do that. So this is the type of works we have done. So finally, what is it? It is the speed. So speed of execution is the key. So whatever we do, if we have the speed of execution, I think we'll be able to make our mark, right? So if you want me to summarize what I have said, I may not have said particularly about the SCM as a subject, but what I am saying, SCM is the backbone. Everything is related. If I'm talking to you, the media has to be clear. What I am trying to say, full stop, commas, if you understand that well, message is delivered. Same, you just translate it to the customer. If you know the demands, your data will help you to forecast the demand, but data has to be fed. Somebody has to feed. So you need to train people to feed that data. Or if AI is getting that data, so somewhere it has to be created. You need this. AI is a very big thing, but friends, you have to go through a huge data storage, which is not cheap. So we need to work out the possibilities where we can help the normal retailers, normal dealers in the cluster formation in India, like countries, in all say third world countries, or in the South Asian countries, which are going to be a big force to reckon with in times to come. Thank you very much. I don't know, I mean, whether I have been onto the topic, but I wanted to invoke that response from you all, because we talk of big things keeping the very, very developed countries in mind, but we need to actually implement them here, right? So thank you very much, sir. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks. If anyone wants to ask any question, please do. Yes, sir. Name.
But I just wanted to know, what about the margins? Because when we are doing a wholesale thing, you are having a good margin there. But when we move to retail or small slot, margin will be less. So how you are handling those margins?
Make clusters, first of all, number one. Number two, you see, we do business. What is the business? Business is the outcome of the societal acts, right? If I am doing business only for profit, I can assure you, you will fail. But if you are creating a society, for example, in telecommunication, what we did, we first taught you how to use the phone, right? From 1 minute to 10 minutes, when we found that 10 minutes are very, very crucial. First 10 seconds are very much crucial. We hooked on to you, then we gave you the data. All right. So data started from 2% to 8%. Today it is 80% usage of data. Correct. So what I'm saying is, it is not the margin. It is you create the complete ecosystem. Margin is what? The margin of 4% in USA is better, or a margin of 20% in India is better. You got to see. Business should be sustainable. Business should be able to scale itself to a next height, right? Margins are there to get into next stage. You don't work for margins only. Margins come. You need to work for optimizations. Okay, if your cost is high, please do something and bring the, now here the AI will help you, here the, data analytics will help you to bring your cost down. But getting these technologies is very, so what you do, you need to create clusters. You can get into the clusters of the, suppose you are going to a one shopkeeper, for example, you are saying, I'm saying that the model of any shopkeeper is, if he has 1,000 customers, his house is set. All right. In a particular market, there are around 500 to 600 shops. Make a software for them. Make supply chain for them. Everybody will be benefited. Right? Any other?
Please raise your hand for questions. Akash, your question.
Yeah, please.
Then we'll come to you, Gautam.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving your time and telling us about what Tesla Power does. So my questions will be a set of questions to understand your distribution model, what you were telling about EVs. So you work on hub and spoke model, like you'll be having a mother hub and then you'll be having regional warehouses who will be further doing the last mile deliveries of the EVs.
Correct.
So just wanted to know, these warehouses are like run by you, or are you using a third party service provider?
Great. You see, money is in scarcity everywhere. All right. The concept of developing wealth and distributing wealth is just a myth. So what we have done is, all these partners, we have taken them as regional partners. You see, whatever is my model, it is their model. I just take my royalty because I spend on branding. I look after the, R&D cost is mine. My people are there to check the and see the quality. Okay. Balanced production facilities there. They make it. So whatever the local profit comes, it is theirs. Since they have some sort of equity in my company, when my company grows, their equity grows there also. So it is the distribution of wealth. This is how we have created.
So you are saying you're using your brand. So these people receive the complete bike in some CKD?
No,
SPD
no,
form?
it comes in the CKD condition.
Okay.
Right. There are local manufacturers also. They supply various, say for example, tires comes, controllers have also started coming here. Okay. We are developing controllers, batteries getting assembled as of now, but soon the battery production will start. Okay. Lead acid battery is totally ours, but these lithium ion batteries we need to import right now. So once this also comes, definitely the things will be better.
Okay, so they are using the production also, and then they are distributing it to the dealers also.
Yes.
Okay, that is completely managed by them.
Correct. We only manage logistics. We manage quality. We manage their training. We manage the brand.
Just wanted to understand this model because in my past company, I was working with delivery, and I developed the model for Ola Electric for their D2C model, which they are developing it, and it is happening pan India, where once the bike is developed,
correct,
it is distributed pan India. It is
D2C.
deliveries. Yeah, it is deliveries, baby. They'll do the transportation, they'll do the warehousing, they'll do the last mile, and with the system tracking from end to end, that where is that bike itself. And it is, I think in India, it is the most, if you can say, the per bike cost which comes for the logistics, transportation, and warehousing. It is the lowest what any player does right now.
Great. Great.
Thank you, Akash. Thank you, sir. Gautam, you had a question. Please.
Good morning, sir. My name is Gautam.
Hi.
So I have also worked in the lead acid battery, sir, in the industry in XLRI, and I have implemented one of the technologies of COS in that company. So the biggest challenge that I faced over there was of change management. How to implement change management across in the industry, in your company, first, and second is how to deal with this problem throughout the value chain.
It is the education. You see, the change, the basic psyche of everyone, even let's say you go to the jungle, you try to do something. Whenever you try to bring a change, there will be a reaction, right? So the best tool to implement change is education. Educate all. And it is your, since you want to bring in the change in the entire ecosystem, so it is your responsibility. Reason being, because if you are telling, you're giving some sort of, say, tool to your vendor, you should know how to use it. You got to see the output. You got to train them, retrain them, train them, retrain them up to the last person. Then only the change will come. Otherwise, change management just remains the concept. I went to a company for a turnaround. I would say that I was always lucky to have a very good team. In the telecom, in SR cell phone, there was a company which was shut down for 11, 12 months. Okay. People were there. All thought that they would be sad, right? We did not tell anyone. We just trained them. We brought them to the latest stream, and same team was able to generate a profit of 22 crores in 1 year. So it is your conviction. And you got to be very honest when you are trying to bring a change in the organization. People have to be told that the change will add value to their life, will add value to what they are doing, rather than just changing it. Correct? If
Exactly.
you are aware that what benefit you are going to derive from this change, you will accept it.
Just the problem is that it is a very, you have to be consistent at.
Correct.
Exactly.
You have to be consistent. Sometimes you have to be assertive also. Right?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Sir.
Thank you. Good morning, sir. My name is Ankit.
Yes,
So you touched very two critical points from my point of view. One is infrastructure and another is EV. So my question is like looking at the today's scenario, how do you see the infrastructure for the EV, upcoming EV? We are looking that many major companies who are into automobile are coming for EV. But when it comes to the charging station and infrastructure, the advancement is not up to that level. And number two, how do you see the resistance from the existing gasoline merchants, the petrol pumps and all which are already established?
Great. I will be very happy to answer this question. First of all, India sells more than 2 crore two-wheelers every year, right? These are bought by the people. So if you actually see at any point, any moment of time, you have 20 crore vehicles on the road, right? Now, these vehicles have to be transformed into EVs, which is a reality. This will happen, and the way industry is moving, I think we will be the biggest manufacturers and exporters of EVs from India itself. Okay. Coming to point number two, that infrastructure is not developed. Everybody is waking up. There are many companies in the charging stations, and charging station as of now it is an expensive solution, but we need to find out the little economical or affordable solutions to that. And one of the thing is that you can actually charge your vehicle at home. That is AC charging can be done, but it will take time for any sort, whether two-wheeler, four-wheeler, three-wheeler, whatever it is, right? Coming to the petrol pumps, they are more than happy to adopt. We have just signed up 2 days back. We signed up with BPCL. Last month, we signed up with IOCL. In next 10 days, people who are living in Delhi or nearby Delhi, you will find that 750 petrol pumps in NCR will be selling our batteries, will be selling our products, which includes lithium-ion batteries for replacement market of the scooters, two-wheelers, right? They know it, they have to be in this space. First of all, understand that all these petrol pumps, why will they not take your product? Or why will they not? Because they are into energy providing segment. What is petrol? What is diesel? It is energy providing, right? So we are replacing that. As my friend said, change manner. This is what we are taking, the all petrol pumps, we are gathering them, we are giving them the education that this is what is there. We are making a complete kiosk, 10 stations kiosk we have made for them, and soon we feel that we have got from IOCL and BPSL around 40,000 petrol pumps we have signed. All over the country will be providing these services over there, right? So this is how we are going to tackle it. Moreover, new and newer technologies will come where the charging will be a fun, in the sense it will be very easy. Right now, what happens is charging can be done in two ways. One is AC, which is time consuming. One is DC. Now, when you take the DC dump all together in a one shot, possibilities are your battery life is affected. Okay. So we need to find out. It's completely innovating, field. Things are being discovered, rediscovered, and soon we'll have some better solutions too. Okay, sir? Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for taking out time, sir, to have a talk with us. So my name is Tarun. So you mentioned about lithium batteries. So, sir, currently lithium is becoming a very valuable material. So, sir, do you think in future any new process or
Sodium batteries are going to come. All right. Now hydrogen cells are on the way. This is the energy. This planet is going to be energy deficient all the time. So you will have newer technologies coming in. So be rest assured. Okay.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Great,
My
great.
name is Nishit.
Hi, Nish.
And as you said that with time, new technologies will be coming. Like right now, we have lithium batteries, then hydrogen cells will be coming. So with time, we need to take care about the sustainability and the pollution related topics also. Like with lithium, there's a topic that lithium extraction is bad for the environment. So how Tesla is taking
see,
care of this sustainability
good thing
in the
is that
supply chain?
lithium batteries are recyclable also, right? Right now the full technology of recycling is not available in India, but a slurry is made and then we export it to Korea or other countries where they are again converted. Lithium is extracted and the batteries are made. But yes, everybody has woken up to the fact that we need technologies which are environmental friendly. We feel that this hydrogen cell would be a great say game changer. But even lithium is at present, because the type of damage the world has got because of lead acid batteries, I mean, is great. So lithium is trying to repair some of them. Newer technologies, for example, hydrogen and sodium. Sodium will be much cheaper, much abundant, and we feel that that is, and the cheapest is again the solar. All right. Lot of work is being done on solar energy also. But the question is, energy is made, it has to be consumed. Batteries come where you have to store it. So if we are able to develop that while you are driving a vehicle, if I am talking of the vehicles only, right? You can make and consume simultaneously. This question will be answered there and there itself, which is possible with the very strong, maybe any element cell. Silicon cannot do that as of now, right?
To continue that question, as you said that sodium batteries will come. So I would say that when we talk about infrastructure, so the lithium ion battery infrastructure is not already set up. No, it's
In India?
In India, it's not very set up for charging stations and everything. And if we bring another technology, so how you think the industry will react to it? That already we have one technology, then that is not set up, and we are again bringing a new technology of that.
You see, this is the first resistance to change, as you just said, right? You see this, you cannot stop the evolution. Newer technology does not mean anything else, it is just a evolution. And faster you adopt it, otherwise you will be distinct, right? So now what you are saying is, yes, there is a gap between A technology and B technologies. I think faster newer technologies come, better we will be able to get the economies, otherwise we won't. There is a risk, always.
My name is Divya. So you spoke about the partnerships with the petrol pumps around India. So what you also spoke about the rediscoveries or discoveries and innovations your organization is doing. Can you talk about a couple of rediscoveries or innovations that made you stood out apart from the other players in the market? While we see a lot of competition, especially with the battery sector across the world.
All right. You see, I think one of the first thing I'll tell you from the marketing perspective, right? Market perspective. We went closer to, you see, who is the actual user? The actual user is a person like you, me, or a normal. And who is the mediator? A dealer. Now, in every segment, we all think, like big companies, people, we all think whatever we will do, market will accept it. We forget that we are also consumer. So one thing which we did in Tesla was that we had gone closer to our all channel partners, right? We have in a way adopted them. We are educating them. We have taken up their families. Okay. This has helped us. We may be giving little lesser commission as my other competitor friends are doing. But since we have in a way adopted their families, this has helped us a lot. And Tesla distribution works as a family itself. So this is one of the thing I would say that. On the product, I would say that I'm afraid nothing great discovery has been made, because it requires a lot of R&D infrastructure, which we do not have as of now in India. Okay. B is we are dependent on many say innovations which are done abroad. Good thing is we are early adopters, right? So as you were saying, we adopt the change very fast, and we cascade it among our team members faster than what we do. So that is one of the reason that we have grown up. Right? Yeah. And finally, you see, we have very strongly worked on the distribution, generation and distribution of wealth. I'm not looking that my company should do, profitability of 200 or 500 or 1,000 crores. I'm looking at that my all partners grow simultaneously with me. That's a key. So we are the first company, I would say that. I have gone for vendor shops also, VSOPs. Right? ESOP, to everybody talks. We have done VSOPs also.
Good morning, sir. My name is Sumit Mutkal. So I have a question regarding public charging infrastructure. So as we can see that as of now, there are 6,500 plus public charging station available in the country as compared to more than 65,000 normal fuel station.
80,000.
No, more than 65 it is. So my question here is still, we have a long way to go in matching up with the demands of the public EV charging infrastructure in the country. So, but the challenge that we face is the methodology of charging. Like we have 5 standards like AC and DC, CHAdeMO, or what do you think is the new norm that standard will be coming up, or will they eventually come? Like we have only 2 petrol and diesel for the IC engine, but we have 5 standards of charging for the electric vehicles. So this itself is a hindrance while setting up public charging stations. So what do you think?
You are right. Lot of, you see, debates are going on, and government has also given certain standards of making these batteries, right? Now, if you recall, in the early days, every phone used to have a different type of charger. Now, the industry is standardized. So we need to give time. All technologies have to come to a common platform, and we have to define a common charging station. But yes, this various charging is kept in mind, whether it is based on the capacity of your battery. All right. So once these standards are set, every battery starts coming. Right now, every bike owner has his own design of battery. Okay, the way they put it. Now this particular, for example, you want 48 Ah or maybe 72 volts, 30 Ah. If it is standardized, then what will happen is your charging stations as well as the swapping stations. You see, it is not the charging stations. You have to appreciate that the normal time taken to charge the vehicle, if you go with the DC charger, up to 70-80%, it will need 20-25 minutes at any station, right? That much time, I think you would not like to spend. So the fastest way would be in the times to come, as per the current scenario, will be the swapping stations. So battery swapping stations have also, but they cannot come because we do not have standardized battery sizes. First of all, that has to come, right?
Thank you, sir. Please raise your hand for the questions if you have any. Yeah, Rishi.
Good morning, sir. My
Very
name
good
is
morning.
Urvashi Kaur. Sir, while we're talking about a great shift towards a technological advancement, we can't do away with the fact that we realize that there is a global concern for sustainability, which is at the center of this. So how do you suggest that we keep a sustainable supply chain management at the center of this whole shift towards a technological advancement where we address this concern as well while we're growing?
Correct. Good question. You see, as I I was very candid in saying few things. And one of the thing is that we need to find solutions for smaller markets, smaller chips. We all think of big things, right? I mean, okay, with this, we will be able to address maybe 1 million customers. But those customers today are scattered. And good thing is most of the customers are well educated. They know much more than what we know today. So we have to ourselves, you see, if I'm talking from the programming point of view or a software point of view, we need to come out with certain maybe hardwares or maybe software which can cater to a particular market. Customization has to be, you see, generalization definitely helps, but customization will get you the complete loyalty, customer loyalty for all times. Like you people are doing, I think, in DHL, etc. Right? So you need to get into that. And that's what I think you all are being trained to. So sustainability will depend when we identify the real problem, concentrate onto that, make a solution, give it to them efficiently and run it.
So just a small follow-up question, like, is there any specific example that you have that you at your company are doing that's something that can be followed?
You see, I think, first of all, as I said that in EV market, what we have done is we have 24 factories, right? And let's say that if you are looking for a EV two-wheeler scooter, let's say in Tamil Nadu, we have set up a factory in Madurai. Now, Madurai is one place from where entire Tamil Nadu is 300 to 400 kilometers. So that means delivery can be made in one day itself. Okay. So this is a solution which we have given for the local market itself. So I don't require any warehouse there which will be storing that much of material, right? This producer of mine will always have the inventory which will run his factory. So this is all worked out to that level. So the solution is given in there itself, and only those models are manufactured which are required by the market. There are certain models which maybe Punjab does not require. So we don't have that inventory in Punjab. These factories will not manufacture that particular scooter. Right?
So Gautam again. Will aluminum hydride batteries be the technology of the future, sir? Aluminum hydride.
Aluminum hydride. Sir, we have 116 elements or 18 elements known, right? And everybody or any element, they have electrons and protons. So wherever extraction is possible, availability of the raw material is in abundance. Extraction is easy and economical. You will get it.
So in India, is it any advancement is happening?
No, I won't be able to comment on it because I do not know as of now.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
ALH3. Yeah.
Hello, sir. I'm Gagan Bajaj. Sir, actually, I wanted to know, International Solar Alliance, our country is actually trying to lead this initiative. So, sir, what do you think will be the challenges if, specifically, if we want to go to transatlantic? So, I understand that we can have a grid from, Southeast Asia till Europe. But, sir, what do you think? How can we get even Americas, North Americas, and South Americas get included in that grid? And do you think that there are other challenges even like storage of electricity, because you're also dealing with the batteries, sir? So what do you think the future of that would be? And so there's another disruptive technology, like they're also working on supercapacitors. So do you think that it will change the?
It will change. It will change. Definitely, it will change.
Yes, sir. Can you throw some insights, sir, on that as well?
Out of context, of my purview as of now. I would love to answer, and I will note it and I'll send back you the entire answer. I'll tell my team to work on it. They have trained me to say only these things right now.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Right? Thank you. Any other question? Please, can I have this question? I request you. I mean, you can mail me.
Sure.
All right. My
So any other
mail
question?
ID, if anybody wants to write down, subhash.a, subhash, subhash.a@teslapowerusa.com. Please mail your questions. Every question will be answered. Right? If I'm not able to answer, my team will definitely answer, and we'll try to satiate and satisfy all your queries. But yes, thank you very much. Questions done?
So one last question. Sir, as per my understanding, in terms of EVs, there is a challenge with the length of journey.
Correct.
So an EV can go up to a length and then you have to charge.
Sir, you have to take petrol also like that.
Correct. So sir, while charging, as per my understanding, you cannot fast charge an EV for more than 4 or 5 times. If you do that, then the battery life reduces to a drastic amount. So
This is a chemical, yeah. You see, basically what is a battery? It is a chemical, right? Now, it is this. If you are putting if you jump start the battery, what happens? The battery plates break with sudden charge, because it is made to accept a sort of particular charge. Now, your battery gone down, you are trying to jump start it. So that means you are giving high current at a very high voltage. All right.
Correct.
So definitely it will do its wear and tear. It will work for that matter. So
So,
your question?
So sir, do you think, as you were mentioning, that sodium batteries or any other technology would solve that problem in future?
I have no idea onto it, because every technology, every advancement have advantages as well as disadvantages. Right. So I think we do not work on disadvantages. We always work for advantages, and the way forward is that only.
Right. Because sir, right now,
minimize those risks.
Right. Because sir, right now, I think this is one of the challenge for everyone who is
Batteries are going to be monitored through BMS. We call it battery management system. As of now, battery management system, managing a large set of batteries where 1,000 batteries or 2,000 batteries is there, is easy. We prepare a knock and we manage each battery, that how much voltage it is having, whether it is going down or whether it is not working, we can manage it. But managing each vehicle battery is going to be as of now, it is a difficult proposal and a little expensive one. Let's hope that we come out with some sort of thing like that, where we can manage the battery. It will be done. Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we'll be having the last question, if there's any. Ashwin, you yeah.
The one answer I want to give is, have we done anything else? All right. We all have heard and we use SaaS, software as a service. We in our company defined PaaS, power as a service. For institutes like you, for hospitals, for big organizations where they have a huge number of batteries, we tell them, you don't buy battery. We will finance it. So we finance that. So we give them a guarantee that we take charge of your power, you just lease it. All right. So in that, what happens is your CapEx is saved and it becomes an OpEx model. This is innovation, product innovation we have done.
Hi, sir. My name is Ashwin. I just wanted to know, like you touched upon a point that you are moving into a strategy where replacing batteries is an option. So my question is, why are we doing so? And doesn't it hinder the innovation process? Like I had learned that if you go for standardizing a product, the product innovation stops and process innovation starts. since right now, like my friend asked, like the distance an EV can go in a single charge, at least for Indian vehicles, is very less compared to the distance that we have to travel. In US, if you look at it, the cities are close by and smaller distances are okay for them. And their charging infrastructure is really good as well compared to India. So if you go for a standardized battery, if government asks everyone to go for a standard battery, that naturally stops the product innovation, and in turn we can't go for that higher distance batteries. So why are we going for a battery replacing strategy here?
Correct. You are answering your question yourself. Number one, if the distances are great, we need to have some sort of arrangement where the vehicle can drive for a longer time or a longer distance, right? This particular battery, if it is designed to give you 100 kilometers, after 100 kilometers, definitely do not expect it is just like your petrol tank. If you your fuel is over, you won't be able to. That bike is of no use, right? So you have to fill it. So here you have to charge your battery. The option is A, you charge the battery in a normal way. If it is done through a DC fast charger, it will be done in 20-25 minutes or 30 minutes maximum, right? If you go with the AC charge, again, it will take much more. It may take around 3 to 4 hours. That is available, and this will be available with every petrol pump. However, you do not lose time. It is time value of money, right? So you do not lose time. Battery swapping stations is a facility which is coming. So it has come in such a way that it becomes an industry in itself. You have charging station where you go give your battery, it will read the life of your battery. It will tell you that this much time it required to charge it, and if you want to take their battery, they'll give you and reduce whatever the charge is there in your battery, that amount you pay it, you take out the battery, put in your bike and go.
I've seen that it is already there in Southeast Asian countries.
Yes, sir. It is an innovation in itself. If you actually see the business innovation.
Yeah, but is that the way to go ahead, or should we really wait for the batteries to get innovated?
You see, future, if the future is known, excitement is gone. Right? If the future is known, excitement is gone. So hence, let it be a mystery.
So shouldn't we let the future be and let the good, better designs come up?
Correct. Maybe you will come up with something.
Yeah, I'd learned BMS in my previous company, so I was actually interested in that.
Please join us. I mean, meet us. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, sir? Correct.
And I've seen them where you come with your two-wheeler, give your current battery, and immediately you can take the battery.
Correct.
And take 5-10 minutes.
Yes.
It's happening in India also. It's not that we are getting behind.
So nice. Thank you. He is supporting me. Please give him a big hand. Great. Any other questions, sir? That was the last question. So can I ask one thing? What is the excitement today? Is it high? You see, I am not the chief executive officer. I bring excitement in my organization. That's what I call myself. So nice of you. Thank you very much. And thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your insight and being patiently listening to all the questions. Now I would like to request Professor Alok to present a memento to Subhash sir. Thank you, Alok sir. Thank you, Subhash sir. Next, we'll have a tea break. We'll come back by 11 a.m.
So tea break for students will be for around 45, like 15 to 20 minutes. Please make sure you are back by 10:50 because we'll be starting sharp at 11. Thank you. First panel discussion on supply chain analytics, shaping the future of logistics and supply chain management. Talking about our distinguished panelist, Mr. Milind Kanitkar. Milind is Managing Director, Principal, Supply Chain Consulting Chainalytics, an entity data company. He focuses on applying large-scale optimization and simulation models for demand and supply planning, inventory optimization, and strategic network design. His work supports planning issues such as merger and acquisitions, facility site selection, capacity planning, network rationalization, capital expense justification, and inventory deployment and policy. Milind's experience include supply chain focused engagement that have spanned many industries, including high-tech, consumer durables, oil and gas, and pharmaceuticals across Asia, Europe, and US. His prior work includes strategic program management at Cisco Systems and supply chain advisory with IBM Global Business Services i2 Technologies, now part of the Blue Yonder Group. He holds an MBA from Goa Institute of Management and a Bachelor of Engineering in Electronics from Nagpur University. Welcome, sir. I invite Sonu, sir, to present as told to, sir. Next, Mr. Abhay Srivastava. Mr. Abhay is a pharmaceutical professional for the past 30 years who has balanced experience between sterile and non-sterile manufacturing, both formulation and API. Believes in creating a skill set and transparency in system leading to prominence of the real issues which can be resolved for the team to work efficiently. Currently in a corporate strategic role, training and mentoring the pharmacists of tomorrow to treat the world effectively and efficiently. He has an expertise in application of Lean Six Sigma to improve efficiency, process capability, risk assessment, equipment qualification. In investigation tools such as 5Y, Fishbone, low inventory planning, new facility design and projects, cost-effective programs, energy efficiency programs, new project due diligence, response writing, new product launches, lean manufacturing obsolescence tracking, and NVA process mapping, capacity planning, and training and mentoring. Welcome, sir. I invite Sonu, sir, to present as told, sir.
Our next panelist for the day is Mr. Somov Kundu. Mr. Somo is a futuristic leader who has driven profitability and turnaround excellence with 2 decades of expertise in supply chain, embedding breakthrough strategic designs and adding value through technology and human capital. He's a disruptive innovator with the right blend of experience in automation and data science. A student for life and highly stimulated with the use of technology, he has embarked on a journey to improve efficiency across the organizational environment. He has a degree in mathematics along with an MBA in supply chain domain and PG in data science with more than 20 years experience in the supply chain industry, handling various sectors like technology, FMCG, automotive, e-commerce. I invite Shonu sir to present a told to sir. Our next panelist is Mr. Pushkar Mukherjee. He's a supply chain professional with years of experience spanning across digital transformation and strategy, manufacturing, integrated demand and supply planning, S&OP process, distribution network optimization, customer service, logistics, freight procurement, warehousing, and project management in FMCG environment. Through the diverse roles that he has held, a rich learning has come through in various areas of supply chain, and he has built a reputation of a proven leader that translates supply chain work in line with business imperatives. He has attained proficiency in managing integrated supply chain strategies to exceed productivity goals and assure continued success. He's result-oriented and has consistently delivered transformational performance. He believes in creating systems and processes, data and demand-driven decision-making framework, excellence in execution for delivering sustainable results. He's extremely passionate about bringing supply chain theory to practice, coaching and talent development of operations management professionals. He has successfully driven project operations like Perfect Network Study, LTLS, digitization in GTM, O2C transformation, segmentation, LCBM, design to distribute, E2E cost to serve, BOLT, CPFR, VMI 2.0, LOT 2020, TMS, IBP, techno-commercial business cases. He has been recognized as an expert in FMCG E2E supply chain. Over time, he has proven his excellence in delivering innovative and fit-for-purpose automation solutions around digitization, robotics, and business analytics. I invite Shonu sir to present a stole to Mr. Pushkar Mukherjee.
Our next panelist, Mr. Rajneesh Raman. Mr. Rajneesh is the CEO and co-founder of Celsius Logistics Solution Private Limited, India's first online marketplace for the complete cold chain industry, backed by industry expert with a cumulative 50+ years of experience and leveraging the latest IoT to bring together the highly fragmented cold chain network. This to book a reefer vehicle or cold storage for primary, secondary, or last mile need. The network is ready with reefer transporters and cold storage solution for over 85+ cities across India. Live tracking of temperature and location, plus 2,000+ vehicles and 75+ cold storage. Welcome, sir. I request Sonu sir to present as told to sir. Moving on, the session will be moderated by Sanjana Vashne, a student of XLRI PGDM batch. So Sanjana, over to you, please.
A hearty morning to everyone present here and a big welcome to our lovely panelists who have taken out their time to come down to our campus to make our panel discussion a way more phenomenal. According to a research by IBM and DHL, the companies who have implemented advanced analytics in their supply chain and operation have increased their efficiency by 70%. Have they reduced their cost by 10% and increased their forecasting accuracy by 50%. Have you ever wondered that the market size of supply chain is going to reach 11 billion by 2025, and it is increasing at a CAGR of 16.9%. This staggering growth defines how complex the global supply chain is and what is a dire need of efficiency and optimization. Did you know that 79% of companies have already implemented supply chain analytics or have plans to implement in the near future to have better visibility and performance of supply chain? Friends, the world is changing today rapidly, and do are the demands of customers and businesses. Customers require lower prices, higher quality products, and lesser delivery wait times. At the same time, businesses are striving for better efficiency and profitability. To achieve these goals, we need to understand our supply chain better and use analytics to make it more efficient and optimize it. Welcome, everyone. So I open the house for our lovely panelists to start the panel discussion. Moving to our first question, we all know that supply chain management involves a lot of coordination and networking among a lot of stakeholders, like starting from production to the delivery of goods and services. However, there are a lot of risk associated with it. So what do you think is the impact of analytics in identifying these risks? Because identification is a major problem, and then mitigation of these risks. So maybe I can start with Sir, and then we can move on one by one.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah. So, okay, let me just come from the other side of it. First of all, referring back to the previous discussion also, whatever analytics journey we take on, okay, it has to be part of the company strategy, not supply chain strategy. The ownership has to come from the board members first. If you do not have the blessing of board, you should not start the journey, loud and clear. So ownership should not be bottom up, it should be top down. The father of the family is aligned, the family gets aligned. That's the whole theory, first of all. Number two, connecting back to this question, in fact, it's very important to find the exceptions in our business, right? And, every company is making sincere effort to move to a self-driven analytics. Instead of going to data should come to us and tell us what to do differently. Not that you keep bombarding with billions of data points. No. The exception-based data analytics, self-driven data analytics, if you have a proper foundation in the organization, your journey towards a real-time data-driven decision-making framework will bring you to the success. So there are many things, by the way. Let me quote an example, because we are here to share a few industry practices or a couple of experience maybe. So during COVID time, maybe all of you know about S&OP process, right? So it's typically in an organization, a monthly process chaired by the CEO of the company, where you talk about the forecast, risk associated with that. During COVID time, we had no choice but to scrap or crash, I would say, crush that lead time to week or days. So that time was the first time in a traditional company like ours, we felt the need of our analytics. So we cannot, preparation of a proper S&OP process and all, it takes few days or weeks for the month. But to be able to inculcate that weekly culture, or SNOE, what do you call it basically in many organizations, we had to completely revamp the current ways of working. So that process gave us a lot of insights. And let me tell you, any mistake in business is very costly. If it is supply chain, even costlier. So this exception has to be spotted early, and it can be spotted only by your analytics and advanced analytics. And when I say advanced analytics, see, typically you pick up any organization, people claim a lot, basically we are doing this, that. Fundamentally, through my network, let me tell you, in India, barring a few companies, still we are into a very basic, which means a descriptive or diagnostic analytics phase, Excel sheet or BI, etc. Okay. The real game changer will happen when you move towards the area of predictive, prescriptive, or even I'll go far and talk about cognitive. Okay. Then only you can spot those differences and arrest those mistakes ahead of time. So I'll stop here. I'll share.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, all. A small disclaimer from my side. So anything I say is my own opinion, not my company's opinion. And I'm very happy to be here. So to start with, I don't know, I'm like nearly 55 years of age, and I've been like in a different roles, and I've been like watching risk actually. So the risk 30 years back was a small 3-liner in every board meeting that there is no risk. Then it grew by some inches that there are certain risks we are taking care, and that meeting used to happen yearly. Then suddenly with the MNCs coming, and then a new culture came of BCP. The risk was been coming under the BCP, the business continuity program and planning and other stuff. And that meeting used to happen quarterly for some company and monthly for some company. So there, I think there was the first seeding which happened, that real risk assessment started, to be very honest with you. And thanks to COVID, that now the risk has come onto our dashboard. Now the one thing also changed in due course of time was that earlier the risks were not quantified, but slowly they become quantifiable when BCP started. Then when it came to the dashboard, it started getting indexed with the critical business, I would say the goal which company wants. And slowly it became the KPIs, and that's how we started monitoring on a day-to-day basis. On even in some research are being like, especially with respect to logistics, are like monitored on day-to-day on real data basis. So when I say KPI, and I think, and this is true for all, so एक line में miss कर गया disclaimer में, you will have certain confusion because business analytic, digital business analytic, real data business analytics, this all are like very, very thin line between them. So there will be some you have to like catch the real essence. And also the business analytic metric and the KPI are almost same as on date, because still, as he rightly said, we are still in descriptive and diagnostic. So they are very short-sighted. Definitely time is coming with good talent like you coming to the industry. We are going to grow there as well. And so slowly, I think we have started monitoring the risk from business analytic perspective, making it as a KPI and getting monitored on a real data. So that's all from my side.
Sir, I would like to add this, since I have
sure.
experience in forecasting in pharma domain. So I still remember when I started my career, we used to just do forecasting. But in last 2 years, we used to also quote risk-adjusted forecasting. And
Yes, correct.
These numbers were submitted to the board members. So yes, there is a change. There is a trend for risk assessment. Milind sir, please go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, thanks for having me here. Great to be here. Couple of kind of myths that I want to burst here. One is, the question at hand, right? Does analytics kind of help identify and then mitigate the risk? This is a global phenomena. There is nothing, APAC, India, US, Europe specific, right? If you look at the spectrum of what the maturity curves are of certain organizations, you have organizations, right, that understand their data, that understand their analytics, and thus based on that analytics can do decision support. I'll talk a little bit about what do I mean by that. And then there are companies that are just firefighting, send me this Excel, send me that data, and in 30 seconds, I'm going to figure something out. And most of the time it's going to be wrong, right? That spectrum exists in every economy, every geography, right? There are companies in India who are at the top of that game where they have access to the data, right? Couple of very, very specific example, right? When COVID hit, there are companies in India that have used tools and things like Google Mobility. Now, what is Google Mobility? It just tells you that how people are moving in cities. Are they going from their home into the office and coming back home, right? COVID happened, we went into a lockdown, everybody stayed at home. There are things that you tend to eat when you are at home, right? There are things that you tend to eat when you are at the office. Maybe soft drinks is a good example of what you consume when you are in the office. Suddenly, people start seeing these differences, and then they can adjust their forecast, their demand plans accordingly, right? This is real world execution, implementation of what the world is trying to tell you through data, right? So these examples exist, right? So that's the first myth busted, right? It's not a region specific problem. Secondly, to kind of, catch on both the points that were made here, right? Analytics in itself is not the end goal, right? Because today what's happened is there is young talent such as yourself that's coming into the industry.
If I say, raise your hands if you are advanced in Excel, if you know a little bit of R, a little bit of Python, right? All these technologies are getting democratized, right? Earlier, they were the domains of somebody who had to do their PhD and spend 10 years in some university to know this. Today, probably, a graduate already knows about it. They can, quickly look at some data and give you some insights around that. What that means though also is there is an ocean of data and ocean of analytics. So somebody like an Abhay that has to look at on a daily basis, and then he's asking the question, what do I do with this? Right? What are you exactly trying to tell me? Because you have described me what the problem is. What are you going to now do and how do I solve the problem? Right? Fundamentally, what boards, executives, people that are making the decisions, what they want to understand is, what's my risk? And in this risk, what's the known part? What's the unknown part? Right? And how do I mitigate it? Right? So there is, I don't know, in communications engineering, you learn something called as a Shannon's theorem, right? Which essentially says, right, that the probability of an event happening is inversely proportional to the impact that it makes, right? You have small earthquakes going on all over the world here, right? They don't make huge impact, right? But the probability of a very large earthquake is pretty small, but when it happens, it has a huge impact, right? And that's exactly what analytics is all about, right? How there are going to be challenges, there are going to be exceptions that happen on a daily basis. You need to have processes and systems to catch those, but there are also challenges that happen, which are, as Nicholas Taleb says, it's black swan events, right? COVID is a good example of that, right? Nobody could have predicted it, right? Any demand forecaster would not have predicted COVID, right? We were sitting in December of 2019, and we could not have predicted what's going to happen in March, which was just 3 months out. So those are also the areas, right? And that is where, we talk about prescriptive analytics, right? But one thing that always comes up in any conversation that the board will ask you, okay, an event has happened. What's my time to recovery? How do you explain me how soon are we going to get out of it? Because that's really what is important, right? Because you can do your ROI, you can do your profitability analysis, all that is fine. What's my time to recovery? And is something like this going to hit me again, right? So those are the, I'm kind of diverging, but when it comes to risk management, that's also very, very important. The last thing I'll say before I kind of pass on the mic is, now you kind of called about, right? That there is a forecast, there is a risk adjusted forecast, right? What you are essentially describing is scenario planning. How do I mitigate the risk through better scenario where we account for what are the underlying business variables that are going to impact me and my business? And for each of those changes, how do I mitigate them and what should be my either the operations plan or the strategic plan to go address that, right? And this is where, to kind of wrap it together, right? This is where analytics leads to decision support, which leads to then, companies making good decisions, right? It's all interconnected, right? I can talk till cows come home about how interconnected today's supply chains and operations are, right? Somebody not buying, a car leads to a semiconductor shortage in China and the whole automotive industry suffers for 5 years in the future, right? It's like a, as they say, right? A butterfly fluttering its wing in Brazil causes a tornado in Kansas kind of a stuff. And that's the world we live in. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. So he touched upon a very important point, time to recover. So basically for any risk or any disruption which can happen in the supply chain management field, there are two key KPIs which are important to monitor and understand. One is time to recover, TTR. Another one is time to survive. So what are these two? So time to recover is if a disruption is happening or is going to occur. During that period, what is the time to recover to reach the original position before what has happened? So that is, once COVID has happened, what is the time to recover means to go back to the original way of working. What is the total time taken? Time to survive is during a disruption, how many days, hours, minutes, whatever the parameters are, how many what is the time which you will be able to survive in the disruption, wherein the supply will be equal to the demand. Once the supply is less than the demand, then lies the bigger problem in supply chain management. So what does data analytics or supply chain analytics do over here is, during any disruption, it brings a model into it, wherein you put in the disruption as a case study. You figure out what is the TTR and TTS, and then plan your BCPs, that is a business continuity plan, according to that. So if you know that if a disruption occurs in, say, a plant in Haridwar, what will be the impact? What is the time to recover? Means how many days it will take you in different scenarios to restart the plant or the operations inside the plant. Second is, what is the time to survive? Means how many days the whole country supply chain management can survive based on the demand supply chain. So if the supply is not happening from the Haridwar, but how many days the demand or the supply would be sufficient to cater to the demand all across India? So these are the two key parameters wherein we work on the data analytics part and give support to find out the appropriate business continuity plans. Say Haridwar plan is closed, and then we start, say, from Ponda or XYZ, any other places, how the number of units or the production has to increase to match up that to that disruption. So that is how the data analytics part of it currently helps in bringing out business continuity plans across the supply chain. I won't say it is supply chain management, across the supply chain operations across India or across the world. That's how it is currently. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me here. So before we start talking about data analysis, so we need to understand the point of data from where we are collecting this. So how authenticate that data is more important than analyzing it. For example, if I reach out to any of my colleagues and tell them, okay, I need a data on a certain point. If it's a manual fed and there is a small mistake done by an executive at a lower level, by the time I analyze it, my entire report is wrong. So the most important factor before analyzing any data is the authentication of the data, how we are collecting it, how much data we have related to that. For example, if majorly in our company Celsius, we have we are a marketplace. So we collect data from across industry, across various transporters and all. So for an instance, one transporter takes around 1 lakh rupee traveling from Delhi to Bombay. The other guy is offering me the same route at around 80,000 rupees. So there must be some difference. So if I go take an average, so it will come around 90K, for example. But my data point, if I look into that, its varies keep changing. So we need to understand first the data, how authenticated and how we are collecting it. Even if it's a technology based in a network in India, there is the infrastructure is also struggling. Most of the places you don't get phone network or GPS tracking and all. So you start losing data somewhere there. There is always a leakage, scope of leakage happening across your levels. So as a management, first thing that need to be taken care is the authentication of the data. Otherwise, your entire analysis goes wrong. And we end up thinking, what went wrong? We have did so much of analysis, so much of data has been collected, but when you implement certain decisions, that will be, wrong, and things can go wrong.
That absolutely makes sense, sir. Milind sir, as you told about scenario planning, yes, we do make scenarios like conservative, optimistic, and neutral. I would like to connect this with what Pushkar said, that we are yet to use prescriptive and predictive analytics a lot. We are mostly restricted towards descriptive analytics till now. So now I would like to add one more technicality to it to understand the role of ML here. Because I know that ML, we can handle large amount of data, complex data, and ML can be able to identify trends and insights out of that complex data. So can that be used to identify the conservative scenarios, and how can we increase the accuracy of that through ML?
See, don't get me wrong. When I say, we are not doing it, I mean, we are restricted to, descriptive or diagnostic doesn't mean that there's no future.
There is definitely.
There's no other way to think, in fact. That's the way to go. Absolute loud and clear. Okay. There are step-by-step journeys available in various organizations depending on the, the journey at, you are present right now. Okay. Coming back to the ML, which is kind of a subset of AI only. Actually, everything falls under AI broadly. But definitely, I think we have already, I'll give you a live example also. Before that, just to answer your question, definitely ML is the right, tool to use to get into that kind of, stuff where you keep learning. It's like an always on mode, what do you call basically in analytics language. So we have to self-train the data, that the model has to self-train itself basically. It takes time. This is where probably we lose some, patience and all. But please remember, connecting back to what Rajneesh said, in fact, it's very important the input going into it. The input can be a structured data input, can be an unstructured data also. That's the most critical part. Now, let me coming back to the real world now. So we have got it's a Imami Agrotech is an 18,000 crore company. A large part of the revenue comes from a edible oil business, okay, which is in a way slightly commoditized, in fact. So it depends a lot about the the pricing happening globally in various exchanges, etc. Malaysia, Indonesia, etc. And then of course the government regulation, import-export ban, etc. A lot of other factors. So if I do not understand the momentums, okay. So again, you said you love forecasting. I'm also a big fan of forecasting. I started my career as a demand planning manager in Unilever. So after implementing demand planning, which is slightly a monthly or a medium term or strategic or longer term, is pretty accurate, I would say. We realize that this kind of business need much more tactical focus, which we call STF, short-term forecasting, tactical window forecasting window, basically. Then this, the demand sensing came into the picture. Just to tell you, all of you know from the books, demand sensing is the STF or a tactical tool for forecasting. And it's depending on the organization and your ability to, break it down to the last level. It can be daily, weekly, even hourly also. There are examples, various companies. The most critical part, apart from the, inputs I talked about, unstructured, unstructured, the most critical part is finding out the right signals. Okay. So typically a e-com company or a retail chain company will pick up signal from the, the billing you're doing for the point of sales. You cut a bill of a Britannia biscuit. So sales stock going out, signal is keep on going, in fact, going back to the system. So it's a concurrent system, we need to have in that way. And idea is to capture those signals, and then the demand sensing has to work. And we cannot be, sort of obsessed with the demand plan you have created a week back. No. So with COVID coming in and otherwise also, the world is changing rapidly. So if your business doesn't have relevance in monthly or weekly bucket, you have no choice but to come down below that. So similarly, going back to our business, so we have tried to find, we're working with a consulting firm on this. So we have tried to pick, we have picked up a hell lot of data, in fact, hell lot of, scenarios, etc. We talked about scenario planning. And then we picked up 3 or 4 key momentum. So some of you, of course, invest in share market. I do. So MACD is a very known concept over there, right? Moving average, conversion, divergence, right? Same concept we brought in here in demand sensing, from share market to demand sensing, okay? Because there's no one side fit, okay? We have to segment every company in a different manner depending on the nature of the business. So we borrowed that concept and we brought in here, and trying to pick up momentum from the price change of various oil type or various exchange, etc., both global and local. We are trying to, pick up the momentum of the volume lifting, and the volume booking also. These are 4 momentum we track, and coupled with, we have got rich historical learning of what happened during this price change, price elasticity I'm talking about, okay, of different event. So I think with those things coming in, we are probably beginning to get better results at the weekly bucket. But will that work for me? Is that the destination? Absolutely no. We want to be a daily bucket company for this particular category. Other categories have other treatment. We cannot treat every category in a similar manner. So demand sensing is one new age tool which probably give a bit of a problem to the traditional demand planning system. But people, the categories who are slightly dependent towards the tactical window, we have to depend on that. So with this momentum and the intelligence coming in, along with this, we also started roping in various subscription-based data inflow. So, Singapore Exchange, etc., Malaysian Exchange, we subscribing and then we're getting the data info on a daily basis, because manually you can't work. When you're talking about week, day, and hour, manual thing won't work. So we have to get our data flow also right. So with that, I think we have done a good beginning, I guess. We have crashed our forecast error from a 65% to a 40% level. So which is a good journey to begin with, I guess. So that's one of the examples I talk about.
Thank you, sir. That was beautifully answered. Just a follow-up question. While I was in GSK, we also used to break down to weekly levels. I was part of flagship vaccines product of GSK. So my question is, do we really need that weekly forecast for decision making, or is it only for operational purposes?
You're spot on, basically. So need not necessarily for decision making. Okay.
Yes.
You have already projected to the board in a monthly SNOP cycle the outcome of demand planning. What do you do in SNOP? Just to repeat, show the forecast, get an agreement, flash the risk, do the mitigation planning, and then move forward. That's what you do basically in a 2-3 lines number. So this, what I'm talking about, is need not necessarily be for a decision making purpose. This is more for the operational team, because it depends also the category, not the company. A company might be having different categories. Some category probably doesn't need to look at beyond a quarter. It's a pretty stable business. You can go on sleep, and then do it properly. You can use simple moving average. No need to look at the ARIMA, SARIMA, and also the world basically. Okay, very clear. But there are categories. There's a customized need to look at daily, weekly bucket, and there's a complete science out of bidding. So just to answer in one line, need not be an executive decision-making purpose, but a must-do for a operations part. Otherwise, we'll end. There's a other fallout. I need not tell you what happens if the forecasting go northward. In fact, you will have more and less of sales loss, inventory accumulation, and cash is like everything today. EBITDA is the word. More than profit, people are looking at cash, right?
Yes.
So in finance, people are actually looking at cash only, I would say. There are many companies. So absolutely spot on for the operations part.
So I think this is very, very important, right? In terms of, what's the real world use of analytics, right? And I think this conversation is very important. I don't know in this class, how many of you have some sales or some maybe FMCG experience, right? But all over the world, you have teams of salespeople, right? And their life runs on targets. What happens is, and these are my personal opinions, okay? What happens is, first couple of weeks in the month, not much is going to happen. The last 2 weeks is, that's when the sales happen, right? So every time we look at any data that talks about sales or orders, you always see a hockey stick, right? What's the implication for me, right? As a supply chain or an operation person, why does it matter to me, right? I have nothing to do with the salesperson. I don't even know their name, right? It has a lot to do with us. Why? Let's say you are fairly sophisticated in terms of how you do your supply chain planning, which I understand at a monthly level. What's my forecast accuracy, what's my error? Based on the error, I come up with certain inventory deployment strategy for that particular month, right? But it's all still at a monthly level. So what you will end up telling the factory or the manufacturing is that, hey, for this month, my warehouse or whatever is your stocking location, let's say, keep them with 10 days of supply at any given point of time. Now, this is exactly how the world works. Even today, 99% of the companies are doing this. But what we don't realize is that, hey, what's happening on the ground is that for the first 20 days, you are essentially stockpiling inventory in your warehouse, right? You are making the plant run, you are stockpiling the inventory, and then you are praying in the last 10 days is where the sales is going to go, right? And you are going to then bleed off the inventory. The questions that today's boards and supply chain executives are asking, for that 20-day, why am I blocking my working capital? Is there a better way, right? Can I not understand doing demands, I mean, as an example, doing demand sensing, right? For each day of the month, what is my sales pattern for a product at a location and how does it translate for a better plan for me? And these are the more sophisticated organizations and supply chains even in India are already thinking about that, right? Because it creates a significant competitive advantage. And one example of that competitive advantage is, let's say, you're just following this monthly process, you deploy your inventory at the distribution center or a depot closest to your customer. What happens for this particular, and let me give you a simple example, right? You have a distribution center in Mumbai and one in Calcutta. You did everything, you sent both the products or one product to Mumbai, the same product to Calcutta. What happens is, okay, there is no demand in Mumbai, but there is significant demand in Calcutta. Now, are you gonna spend extra money to move that product from Mumbai to Calcutta? Whereas, are you not better off to understand what exactly are the demand profiles at these nodes and say, okay, I'm gonna postpone that deployment decision probably at the plant. So when I sense the demand, that is when I'm going to send the product and not incur additional cost. That's just one example in terms of how this works, right? Multiple sort of ways in which you can, go about it. This has huge implications, especially when it comes to creating manufacturing plants. There are folks who have run factories and plants here. They know how difficult it is to set up a batch for especially what you call your slow movers. Products that you don't need to manufacture nobody cares about the fast movers, right? They will get manufactured come what may, right? Because if you don't manufacture, you're going to lose market share and there is going to be hell to pay. Slow movers, yeah, I mean, that's where the real exceptions and challenges happen, right? So if you get these demand picture, this demand sensing things right, that has downstream implication and that directly goes into the bottom line, right? That's kind of the more of the business thing. For this group here, right? Coming to the original question, what is AI, what is ML, right? Again, my personal opinion. These are not words that have come from the heavens, right? I mean, most of you probably, if you have had some science background in class 10, 11, 12, you have done single variable logistics regression, right?
Yes.
That is ML. ML is no different than that, right? You understand what's happening in the history. You create a certain model to predict what will happen in the future. What's happening is it's getting more complex and complicated, right? So today, there are organizations that are looking at, hey, I'm not just going to rely on my past history or past sales to tell me what my forecast needs to look like. But at a city level, I'm going to understand humidity, temperature, precipitation to understand how those things impact what my sales looks like, right? And why is it important? It is very important for industries such as paint. People are not going to paint their house if it's going to rain that day, right? Or that month. This is where, essentially what you're doing is you're just complicating that model a little bit to give you better and better answers. So it's not as if something to be afraid of. It's something to embrace because it's something that you all have been exposed to at one level or another. And, that's going to be a competitive, also a differentiator as you folks kind of, have your professional journeys, right? Because at the end of the day, everybody has opinions, but bring fact and data to the table.
Yeah. So, okay. First, a small pointer because we are from the same fraternity. So generally, the pharmaceutical plants in India are like multi-product, single facility, and there are a lot of changeovers which happens. So the weekly buckets are mainly for the scheduling, as rightly said by you. Second point, actually, when I'm not a very big fan of ML, to be very honest, and I have reasons for that. Generally, if there is a situation of know the unknown, yes, ML is the best. And now when the situation turns unknown, then the modeling is a better thing to do. And especially in demand forecasting, what I've seen is that by the time the machine learns what are impacting, especially in the pharma, agri-tech and the paint industry is definitely a lot of things have happened. But in pharma, the situation changes so fast by the time machine learns, the situation is entirely different. So you need to be like very careful, and you need to run different analytics along with the ML to validate, verify that what is actually coming, and then there is a manual approach that you decide, or you take a call on that. And just coming to what C said, generally what happens in pharma based on the profitability, we take a leading demand or a lagging demand, so that if the profitability is huge, we take risk and create a leading demand on that. So I had a small difference of opinion. I thought I just put it on the table for you all to evaluate.
Thank you so much, sir. And I do agree. Like we do forecasting for pharma, but by the time that ML would learn it, maybe the government policy will change. Another competitor will come. Maybe a side effect of that pharma drug might come up. So there are unprecedented things that we cannot get rid of. Like Milind sir debunked a myth that supply chain is very complex. It is as simple as single variable regression. Another myth is there around that supply chain analytics is very expensive. So I would like Somok sir to talk about this. Is it a myth or is it true?
Expenses in terms of, there are two aspects to supply chain analytics. People, there is some storage, there is some computing. All these are, say, cloud computing or Azure ML, you have to take licenses. Not so expensive. People, currently in India, is expensive. If you have to cater to a good data science and data analytics guy, it will cost you money. But overall, if you see the benefit out of it, so what we are used to is not about only taking into consideration the cost. You have to consider the benefits out of it also. So, for example, I continue with what he said. He said that it is a weekly forecasting which is necessary. What is the implication of not having a weekly forecasting in supply chain operations? I'm not talking about the entire supply chain management, in the supply chain operations. So what happens is, when you are planning at a monthly level, and you know by your experience, I'm not talking into data analytics part, that your entire, say, 70% of your sales is going to happen in the last 2 weeks. You design your storage, your manpower, your capexes, your opexes to the extreme point. It means that you need to cater to 70% of your volume for the month in the last 2 weeks. It typically means it is 35%, which is being done in the last week. Example, 35 into 4 weeks is 140. So you're technically building a capacity of 140% against a requirement of 100%. For every factor, for a warehouse space, your space needs to be 140%. Your capex spend will be 140%. Your manpower spend will be 140%. So technically, for saving this money, ML or AI, or you can say data analytics, comes into picture. Now, when you are spending money, you are spending money in what? You are spending money because machine learning, the machine learns on its own, but someone has to feed it in terms of the data. Data it can extract. Okay, you have a cloud computing, so whatever data is coming is going into clouds and you are extracting from the cloud. But the initial setup has to be done by someone. Someone has to build a model. Someone has to test the model, that a model is actually running fine. Then the ML will give you insights. But someone has to understand that insight also. The machine won't come and tell you, today you have to do this, tomorrow you have to do that. It can give you insights which will be in form of data points only. It will not speak to you. A person has to understand what it is trying to tell us and then convey it to whoever it is to be conveyed to. So there is a person requirement, there is a machine requirement. The cost, you want an exact figure? No,
not really.
Okay. No, I can give you the exact figures also, because we do things. So we know what will be the approximate cost of an ML project. So, but it is in India, very few organizations are doing it, but they are doing it on their own. And outsource organization, if I have to tell you very fine, someone in an organization, say a company has come up who says they are doing ML or they are doing data analytics. As of today, I can tell you they are making dashboards only. Okay. They're making dashboards through Tableau or Power BI. Pure data analytics in India is still in a very nascent stage. It is evolving. People are adapting to it, and probably it will take some time, but it will be there, and it has to be there to improve upon the whole supply chain operations. If you have to improve your efficiencies, if you have to improve your EBITDA, you have to embrace that data analytics is the way to future. But data analytics alone is not the way to future. Huh? Just please remember this. If someone says data analytics will do everything for you, it won't do. Second, he mentioned in the first itself, it is not a technology program. Huh? It is a business management program. And it is a business management problem, not a technology problem. Please bear this in mind. It is absolutely clear should be absolutely clear to everyone. AI, ML, data analytics is not technology programs. These are business management programs. And rightly said in the beginning itself by Mr. Pushkar, it has to be a top-down approach. So these are the two things. And third, everyone thinks it's very simple. It is not simple. Huh? It looks simple. Once you understand it, once you really do, say, 15, 20 projects. Huh? I'm not saying 2, 3 projects. Take data from Kaggle, do it yourself. But if you're doing 15, 20 projects across 2 years, say, then it will become it will simplify your life, or you will become accustomed to it. Otherwise, it's not very simple. But it's not very costly also, to be very frank.
So you wanted
Just to add, I think you said that I want to repeat that part. So guys, one thing you should be very clear. Okay, in MNCs, probably there's a time we used to do whatever you feel we should do it. Doesn't matter whether there's a business case or not. Everything looks good, may not be having a business case, by the way. But I think the days are changing. So whatever you're going to do, if it is not aligned to the overall strategy of the company, and if you do not have a business case, you'll have a hard time and you'll fall flat on your face very clearly at the beginning itself. So you have to, inculcate that into your overall company strategy and sell it to board very clearly. And that is not about this analytics journey, by the way. It is also true for ESG. I think the next thing coming up in the next session, probably, Avin. If you do not have a business case, that how this program or a journey will add value at the overall level in long term, you'll not be able to pursue it. And yesterday we have been talking about the importance of data. Data is the new oil. If it remains unrefined, doesn't give you value. Energy is the combustion engine, etc. This is so true. So we also believe that not doing it is not an option, by the way. It's a journey we have to prepare. And in that journey, you have to very clearly call out, not only in supply chain, but also for business. Because the features or the principles applied in supply chain analytics is also true for business, by the way. Okay. And typically we talk about this debate, analysis versus analytics by definition. So analysis is all about future. How am I doing right today, in fact? And what can I tell you about today's operation? Analytics is more about future. It's still exploding. Similarly, if you look at a typical, you talked about dashboard versus control tower. Control tower probably is the most abused term today. Everyone is selling control tower, right? But very few understand the difference between a dashboard or a control tower. Control tower is supposed to be much more end-to-end. Its scope goes beyond supply chain. It encompasses the entire business. It should be helping all the functional head like us or the CEOs or the number one in the company to make decisions based on this output. It should be interactive. We should be able to see the scenario live. That is the end game of a control tower. It is not a static dashboard. So I'm saying, we have to have a business case, and there are business cases, by the way, both for ESG and data. I have done it myself. So it's up to us how we are going to put it across and how do you want to pursue the board.
So just to add on to what my friends told here. So there are two aspects of it. So when you look into a corporate size MNC, and there is the other side where we have SMEs and small players who have been struggling probably to get the demand generated, pay their salaries, how they are manufacturing, paying to their vendors and all. So if you look into that segment of people, so the spending an extra money, even though that's gone on, they don't understand first how the data will work. Secondly, the awareness towards how it's going to help them in a short term and as well as on a long term is very less. So for them, it's morely like a firefight to manage their cash flow for today. When you go and tell them, sir, you buy this hardware, this software, and then implant it in your plant, vehicle, and all wherever, it will give you this benefit. The first question comes to them is, कितना पैसा लगेगा? और इससे मेरे को क्या फायदा होगा? फायदा मेरे को इमीडिएट लग रहा है, okay, I'll take it, कि ठीक है चलो, I'll buy the software, I'll implement. You tell them कि सर ये लॉन्ग रन में आपको 1 साल के बाद बेनिफिट देगा, अच्छा ठीक है बाद में देखते. So the end result, it has to be, you need to make the software, hardware, whatever you're manufacturing to get this data has to be has to reach these SMEs. That's when you can create value to their supply chain, because that's the huge market. India is developed a lot of small players coming up. They have huge ideas, but they don't have the bandwidth to implement it. So you can figure out a guy who is sitting in some small city in Chennai or Tamil Nadu or in Indore. He will be exporting products to overseas. Special examples, if you take Jaipur, handicrafts and all those things. But you ask him, what are, sir, आप इसके manufacturing में आप ये करोगे तो आपका ये software implement करो. Your manufacturing will improve, your supply chain will improve. Everything is okay, good, nice. But end thing is, how expensive is this, and whether they are ready to spend that money at immediate effect. So of course, yes, in India right now, the softwares and the hardwares that we get in is damn expensive as for an SMEs or a startup. Yes, sir.
We need to develop these business models for this. India exports around, I mean, the 40% of the exports from India is from these SMEs only. Right?
Of course, yes.
So we need to work out business model, which could be revenue sharing.
Exactly, yes.
So, I mean, let us not get into the capex, which I agree with you. But if you have a business model which supports with revenue, just take some part of it and then you will see.
Yeah, definitely. That's always the business owner's decision, how they want to go ahead with their businesses. But having said that, it's always a fight between your day-to-day operations and your technology part. Thank you.
Now I would like to turn this.
Just one
Yeah.
kind of a different perspective on this one,
Sure.
right? Because sometimes when we talk about expenses, we kind of gravitate a little bit towards what's my technology cost, what's my hardware cost, right? A lot of the times what kind of gets missed in this whole chaos, right, is there are human costs that are dependent on this, right? So if I were to just poll this particular panel itself, I mean, they all have planners that work in their teams, right? I can almost bet it on the table that 80% of their planners' time is just collecting data and not actually doing analytics and planning.
Yeah,
right?
also
So, I mean, you have hired bright individuals, right? You want them to do planning, but what they end up doing is collecting data and putting that and entering that in Excel. And 2 years later, they said, "Ab ye to kaam nahi ho payega. I'll try to do something else," right? It creates a lot of churn and attritions in supply chain organizations, because what happens is, and I have friends and I have colleagues who tell me that, you know, what happens is I have 25-30% attrition in my team. So every 2 years, all that institutional knowledge that I want to get to the team has vanished. And, you know, it's not as if I don't feel as if I'm running a supply chain organization. It feels as I'm running a training program for budding supply chain professionals, so that they'll come, I'll train them, and then, you know, some other organization is going to take care of, you know, their careers. There are these human costs also, right? And this has been always been a struggle with supply chain executives whenever they want to make an analytics or a technology decision. What's my ROI? But at the same time, what is the productivity that I give back to my team, right? And then can I then have them focus on the real problems at hand, rather than becoming, you know, quote unquote data entry operators, right? I mean, you don't need extremely highly educated people to do data entry today in today's environment, right? So these are some of the things that need to be kind of looked into before you start making, you know, is it too expensive? It's too cheap. And the other thing I think we discussed that earlier, right? Things are getting democratized. Power BI is a free tool. Anybody can download it off Microsoft website and start doing things into it. So it's not that expensive anymore.
What is expensive is how do you scope, right? He already talked about, right? You need 15, 20 projects to really become expert at doing something, but at the same time, believe me, 90% of those projects are gonna fail. And fundamentally why they fail is because you did not scope out the problem correctly. You did not really understand what is it that you wanted to solve for, right? The world is gonna throw tons and tons and data at you. What do you choose and what do you don't choose? That's also, not choosing is also a strategic decision. And you have to be very, very disciplined about not choosing something. And this is where that, this is where we have seen a lot of our clients also, right? I mean, we typically call it analysis paralysis. People just get paralyzed by the analysis that they have done and they cannot then support any decision making. And this is where kind of leads to failures. And this is where then executive starts thinking, ye to bahut zyada mehenga hai, isse to kuch mila hi nahi.
One point I missed out is, so even if I install a software and hardware, whatever required is, apart from this, I need to hire a right resource as well. So yeah, because otherwise I keep getting the data. And then if I'm not able to utilize because I don't have the right resources to analyze it and get me the result out of it. So it's not only the cost of the software that we are looking at here, it also the cost of the resources that we need to acquire to get the required results and implement it into the business benefit.
Currently, the cost of resources is higher than the software and the hardware cost. Huh? Just for your kind information. So that is what I told you. Cost of resource is something which needs to be looked into, not into the softwares and the hardwares. Or you can build the model is being built by a guy or a gal. So someone is building the model. Huh? So it is a person who is building. It is not built in. So it is the cost of the resource which is the highest proportion, and the rest of the things are not minuscule, but it is relatively lower.
Apart from this, also the availability of resource in that particular location. So if I am based out of Coimbatore and I have got the best of the software, I won't get a right resource to analyze it, because everyone will be sitting in Bangalore, everyone gone to Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai. So, and even if they want to shift in here, they will charge a bomb. So it all gets into a cycle. To use in software, I need to have the proper infrastructure at my end as well.
So you have, since you have turned the conversation towards the talent and skills part, it's very important while you're implementing. You need people to build ML models as well. So how do we make a strategic plan to have the right training, onboarding, and even talent acquisition, as well as the retention of employees? Maybe Somov sir can take it up.
Again me, okay. So a disclaimer like him. This is my personal opinion, not related to anything in my organization. Huh? Talent for data analytics in supply chain or any other thing, there are a lot of institutions which are giving courses like MSc in data analytics. I personally know 2 institutions in Mumbai where there is a Master of Science in data analytics, and there are master's program in data analytics across India, and some online courses, like I did my online course from Great Lakes. So Great Lakes also does it. The issue is there are say 100, 200, 300 pool from where you can take people, but they come from a background wherein they have done their projects or learning based on existing data which is there in Kaggle or somewhere, and they have built their models from there. Important thing is training them to actually understand what reality is. A data set available somewhere and you building something is not the reality. The reality which is there in the existing businesses which we do is somewhat completely different, where the models which are being built has many factors which are not even known to the person who has come in and joined on day one. The thing is, to become a good analyst, a good predictive analyst or a prescriptive analyst, you should have the ground knowledge of the operations, so that you get the sentiment and you get the actual working conditions which are there on the ground, because it continuously varies from day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute. So typically what should be done, again, my personal opinion is there should be a training module wherein apart from the machine learning or the AI or Python or XYZs, they should spend certain amount of time to understand that industry they are working in, understand the nuisances of that industry, work some period of time on the shop floor, mingle with all the departmental heads and all the departments, be it finance, IT, HR, operations, everyone. Once they have this complete knowledge of that organization, of the ways of working, of what they are actually doing and what is their final objective, then they should start working on the projects. This will efficiently help them do the project wherein they know what to plug in. It is very difficult to do the things from day one, but say they spend 3 months into this program wherein they learn everything and then start doing the project. It will help them build a correct model. It will help them understand how the model is giving out result and how to test the model in different scenarios. And if initially it might be an issue for them, because the mindset of a data analyst is I will sit in an office, I will run the programs, I will run the machines, I will run the models. But once they do this, they will become more efficient in what they're doing over there. You talked about retention. Retention is, no, I don't have really no answers for retention, because we face a attrition of not less than 30% every year. So it is around 25 to 30 everywhere in this industry. Even if some industry tells their attrition is 15%, I would be very happy to hear which industry it is. But retention is about motivating someone. It is not always about monies, to be very frank. That is from, again, my personal opinion. It is about the culture of the organization, how you are motivating the girl or the guy who is working for you, what kind of training we are giving to them. It is not only a technical part of it, it is a soft skill part of it also, which takes him to the next level of leadership roles. So that is how retention can be there, but more or less, this is the way we should go forward doing or recruiting guys or girls from the data analytics field.
So I will answer this question in two ways. The first is that why talent is important, and second is how mankind is like handling this crisis. तो आपको थोड़ा सा डराऊंगा मैं, डरना बहुत जरूरी है. Because if you see the platform business or the business which are highly digitalized, like telecom, e-com, just because of the data is so easily available, the data analytics are working. I think they are in maturity level, they are the top. Now, what is this doing to the business? So this is like removing the competitor, and you are finally left with only two competition: Airtel, Jio, Flipkart, Amazon, DHL, Blue Dart. Because these guys are doing the business analytics and they are removing the part of business which is not doing great, or they are not promoting their subsidized or incentivizing their subsidized business, which are being picked up by the other, and they start bleeding. Slowly, what is also happening is that the other industries are getting digitalized. So now this is going to happen with them as well. So there is a need of highly talented people in business analytics. So अब तो ये समझ में आएगा कि चाहिए. And how mankind is doing, and probably most of you must be like wondering why we are doing green belt in MBA colleges. तो वो इसलिए है कि that is not only the problem solving tool, but also creating a right culture in the organization. So what we have done is that we have characterized that every production manager should be a green belt, and every plant manager should be a black belt. I'm also in black belt, so I'm like heading all the operations. Now we have created a digital training center where we have inventorized all the software. We have done a gap analysis. We have made a kind of a syllabus. And now we say GB plus means he's a green belt with plus means some level of you can say he is digital literate. He can like do some very basic dashboarding and all. Then there is a black belt plus also double plus. So we are creating plus plus as a sign of how much digital savvy he is. So currently we don't have any policy for putting a selection because we are still in a very initial phase, but it is prudent to inventorize all the software, create a gap analysis, and also start educating and giving a level. जैसे बोलते हैं ना ग्रीन बेल्ट हो गया, येलो बेल्ट हो गया, ब्लैक बेल्ट हो गया, मास्टर ब्लैक बेल्ट हो गया, आप उनके बगल में प्लस लगाने शुरू कर दीजिए, प्लस, डबल प्लस, ट्रिपल प्लस, 4 प्लस, so that you know what kind of people you have. You can bring IT people, you can bring very intelligent people, but you cannot throw away your current people. So you should have a right mix of both. You educate your own people, simultaneously bring the new talent in your system.
Sir, agreed, sir. You wanted to.
Yeah, so kind of I agree with what you said, right? But kind of take a step back. There is already a raging debate that's going on in the industry in terms of, what kind of profile that we really need to look at when we talk about business analysis, business analytics, right? Maybe 10 years ago, if you had a background in STEM, so science, technology, engineering, you probably had some competitive advantage. But now, the way things are and the speed at which things are going, a lot of organizations do prefer that you actually have a liberal arts background as well. What do I mean by liberal? Maybe a commerce or an arts or a history or something, right? Because that helps you connect with the real world faster, right? Because today analysis is not about just coming up with a fantastic mathematical model or a fantastic code that you can run again and again. It is about how do I model that real world into whatever my program or my code that gives me meaningful results, right? Unfortunately, what's happening, and I'll talk about a little bit from an India perspective, right? That this quote unquote, this data science role that suddenly has sprung up in organizations, right? It's not really that, right? Because what data scientists do in many cases is that they are essentially, software engineers getting rebranded as data scientists because they can code in Python, R or whatever, right? But the real concept behind a data scientist is that these are the people that understand at the ground level what problems exist, and they have the technical understanding of maybe using some kind of a package or a language or a model to then really model that real world into, again, a word, the jargon is a digital twin, right? You must have heard about it. To do that, right? And that's really the role of a data scientist, right? Which is not to kind of, sit in your ivory tower and, think about, the coolest thing that's going to win the next Nobel Prize. But it's really about what is that, for example, my operations team is struggling with, what is my accounting team is struggling with, what is my strategic sourcing team is struggling with, right? And how do you translate that into a model that gives them something that they can use to run their business, right? That's the most kind of critical example. You talked about retention, right?
Yes.
How do you retain it? And this is exactly how you retain it, right? Which is, if you have a talent like this, right? And a lot of companies have been very successful, right? You put them on rotation programs, right? Hey, next 2 years, you go look at what's happening in supply chain. 2 years after that, you go try to run a plant, right? Because your data science and business analysis skills are fungible. You can take them with you across the organization. It's not as if that, I'm no longer working in supply chain, I'll do plant operations, so I don't know how to run models, right? You can actually take that simulation optimization from your, let's say, if you're running a warehouse or a distribution network, you can take it into a plant and say, okay, how do I optimize this line for better scheduling? Now, these are the ways where you continuously motivate the teams and the people that you have, give them more challenges, interesting challenges, different challenges. And I'm not talking about, the professional or the financial growth. I'm talking about things that are of interest to people who are interested in doing this. If people are not interested in doing that, there's nothing much you can do. And you have to be honest about it.
Yeah, just to, giving a bit of background on this, why it is important and how we should attack it, apart from the framework. So there are, 3 core areas typically organization look at it, right? One is strategy and process. Number 2, what we are into, data and analytics. Third one is the people and culture. I think we're sitting in the mecca of HR. So anyway, so the third part is the, most important part. So whatever we are planning, whatever, GAN you heard from us, okay, it will completely collapse if you do not drive that cultural change by choice and proactively. Take it from me, for sure. I've seen in big organization also, in fact. So it's very important that we have a proper roadmap and program for that, by the way, to sort of, hook people into it basically, very clearly. Coming back to, the talent management part, I think all my fellow panelists has covered in detail. I will not repeat. But one thing, and I think the talent you're looking for is very difficult to get, the mix of operations and then data. I think none of us probably have a magic wand to get that, in fact. And there's a huge, white space today. I mean, some of you can fill in probably. So just one thing we have, without, while doing some of it, like rotation policy, etc. One thing we are consciously, considering, or rather doing it. You may not like to hear me saying that, or may not be a solution for that also. So that's why I'm saying is, apart from what we are doing, we are also looking at intelligently how I can do my planning as a service. As an organization, we don't want to, as a leader of this function, probably supply chain function, in a planning department, I don't want to take the pain. Because who will manage every year, 20, 30 years? We are not running a school, by the way, right? We are running an organization. Finally, we are responsible for ROI delivery, certain delivery. So maybe at the cost of a little bit extra money, we are really considering, or rather exploring, running it as a service. What does it mean by that, by the way? It means there'll be only 1 or 2 planning lead in the organization, or a category lead. The entire operations part or system management part, we may outsource to an expert who has to take care of all this worry, what I have today. So that's an outside view, like what he talked about, the arts graduate or commerce graduates. It's a fresh view to me, honestly. Okay. Like this is the view, I think, temporary or long term, I don't know. I think this is a space, probably give me some bit of a stability. And we can also at the same time do a lot of experiment with those specialists, whoever will come and fill those shoes, basically. Yeah.
Agreed, sir. Yes, we have learned this in HR, even organization behavior, OB, even in another subject, managing innovation, that importance of culture. It's very important to foster any implementation in supply chain analytics. Now, I would like to turn the conversation towards the most important part of supply chain analytics, why we are even talking about it, that is the consumers. So consumer demand is very unpredictable and dynamic. And the companies who are able to adapt to these changes fast get some competitive advantage. So I would like to ask, sir, if you can tell us the impact of supply chain analytics on determining the consumer demand and predicting them, and then adapting it to it fast.
Sure. So as everyone know, in today's date, the demand for any product is changing drastically. And the data, what we collect in previous years or whatever we are getting it, so it helps the company to predict the next quarter or the and these demands varies based on seasons, festivals. Like when it comes to the month of summer, the demand from ice cream and cool drinks and all soft drinks increases automatically. So it also helps us to, these data, it's not only for the manufacturing part, but also helps the supply chain team to analyze and plan their distribution cycle as well. So and a platform like us, where we can have a data where in which city or which region has the maximum demand during what production, agricultural production, it may be an agriculture production like from December to around March. the crops of apple started selling off, and it started moving from Kashmir to Bombay so that it can be exported across. Similarly, when it comes to the frozen product, that in the month of festivals like New Year, Christmas, it start increasing. So these data is not only for the corporates, like big corporates help them to analyze the production, but also when I look into a smaller transporter, when they start using this data, it helps them to plan their transportation and their business accordingly. So for example, a small transporter who has been connected with our Celsius for an year, next year he knows ki when it comes to from December to Jan, I will have a specific load from Kashmir. And this, we also start telling them ki, okay, this month, if you are going towards northern side, you just connect us, we have this Apple load from there available. Similarly, if somebody comes to south, I don't know how much of you will be aware that India is one of the biggest transporters of fish across, especially most of the fishes that goes to China is from India. And the European market is a big market again. There are very big brands which are into exports, but people are not aware of it. So all these we got put, the connections has been put into our platform so that we can, serve the transporters better and help them to plan their future.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, I will add to that.
Please add.
So the lady who inaugurated the session said two very interesting words. If you have noticed, one she said was on efficiency and the other was like on effective. और मेरे को ये चीज समझने के लिए 33 साल लगे. So the supply chain analytics throw two different things which are very important from building an efficiency in the system. Like it throws a lot of data, creates a visibility end to end, and also the visibility is not only to the corporate but also to the customer as well. आपको Zomato में सब कुछ दिख रहा है कि कहाँ आपका है, और if something happens, the app says that there is some problem and they start giving you the coupons. The supply chain analytics also improve the effectiveness of the business. How that does this does is like it started creating the market segmentation so that you can decide on how to promote, what to promote, and what not to promote. Now, but what happens slowly is very interesting thing which happens. So first, this business analytics things improve your efficiency. Then it goes to throwing lot of data about the customer. You start improving your business, and because you are understanding the customer better. And finally, what it happens, it start creating its own new business model. So like for example, I will take two examples here. So one is like Tetra Pak and the other is like aircraft engine manufacturers like GE and Rolls-Royce. So what they have started doing is that earlier they were selling this machines and packing materials and aircraft engines. Slowly they did a lot of business analytics, and now they have changed the business model because there was a compulsion. For Tetra Pak, it was a compulsion. And for this GE and this Rolls-Royce, it was more of an coming to the market where they are not there. So what happened? The Tetra Pak patent was expiring. So they wanted to be not copied, or they wanted to be in competition. So what they intelligently did was that they started using this business analytics, taking advantage of all the technology available. And slowly what they have done is that they have gone to companies like Parle Agro and saying that you pay on the basis of OEE. So now from product, machine, and packing material and preventive maintenance and AMC, they have gone that we will give you this much OE and you pay us this. For a big people like Parle Agro, their biggest problem is to keep their plant running. So now, based on this business analytics, a new business model has arisen. Now this aircraft engines, they were selling these engines, then they started selling maintenance, and they found that the small aircraft operators are not buying their engines. So they did some analytics, and what they say, you pay by hour. You fly your machine and pay by hour. The hour your aircraft is in air, we will charge you for that. So suddenly the Rolls-Royce engine started coming into the market even with the small players. Now these guys want to be in business. Now they have started how you can keep your aircraft in the air because they get money out of it, right? So this is the power of business analytics. And this is how you study the customer and create a new business model of it. So this is something I just wanted to bring out of it here. Thank you.
Yeah, since we're in the customer part, just to remind ourselves that, the core of supply chain is about the 4 pillars, and that start with customer service, right? Followed by cost and savings, cash and control, and then capability and capacity. You pick up any supply chain, these are the Bible, plus 2 T's, talent and technology, of course, nowadays. Okay. So coming back to the first C, the new age term is CX. All of you, right? And a lot of people don't know how it is different from CRM or a customer service or a customer, customer centricity, etc. See, to be very honest, I learned from ecom. They hyper prioritize the CX and took it to a different, level altogether. Of course, they burned a lot of cash and still burning. But so they taught us actually how to, sort of uplift ourselves to the space. So when this was happening as a company, be it an MNC or a, Indian company, we started worrying a lot at that point of time. What this is happening? How do I shift to that level? Because we realized that once the customer is habituated with that kind of a service level, the gold standard, what I say, okay, 10 minutes, 1 day, whatever you call it, okay, the traditional companies will get redundant, okay. But of course, we have to find a model in that also. So just to give an example, before I get there, CX, how do I differentiate CX in 1 or 2 lines from any of the term we use? CRM is a platform. This is an experience you give to your customers, right? The delight part. By hyper segmentation, like say we cannot treat everyone, you like it or not. Even if you want, probably you cannot afford to treat everyone in similar manner. Because finally we have to look at our P&L, ROI, etc. Correct? So we create a conscious segmentation and we offer a menu. And just to delight the customers. So the right word to use here, we are moving towards a direction to offer more personalized and competitive service versus a competition. If you are even an inch up versus a competition, and if you are doing something on the personalization space, I think the job is done very clearly. So what we have done in Emami, for example, so segmentally we have done we have got 5 verticals. One of the verticals, we have got 3,000 dealers basically. So we have called out top 300 dealers, a gold standard. So we prioritize in every sphere. If the stock out is there, they will be the, after a modern trade and e-com, of course, though they are in a different level. So we will prioritize them. We will try to serve them in 24 hours, for example. So this is how, and apart from that, like a bank, you see when you take a credit card, for example, okay, if you get your whatever card you use, you are entitled to certain benefits, right? As those privileged customers. And as and when you move to different tier, you get those. So we have done that. And that is actually, apart from a business, giving us a lot of delight part. So that is something we need to, keep improving. And the lens is like, market share lens is very clear. Are we doing an inch better than competition or not? Number 1, in terms of both service and delight. And number 2, are you taking his feedback or not? So the other part is you think you are doing great job. You are in a different world. The customer thinks you are one of them only. No, has no meaning. So whatever you're doing for every single activity, it is better to ask customer, please rate me. It's like a CSAT score basically. Okay, you rate me. If you're solving a problem for them, if you feel I've done a great job, you never know. Customer will probably rate, 3 out of 5.
So reverse feedback with a specific rating will always help and show us the mirror.
I think that's beautifully answered.
A couple of, I think, just to pick up, right? In terms of supply chain influencing customers, segmentation is a great tool, right? Segmentation tied with cost to serve, because if you have a vendor that says, I'll give you premium service at a cheaper rate, distrust that vendor. Premium service means higher cost. You all have learned cost to service curves, right? Higher the service, higher should be the cost. There are other aspects also where supply chain now is increasingly influencing customer behavior, right? There are things around, if you have learned demand planning, there are things around demand shaping. What happens is, let's say, and this is rather relevant in more of a business to business kind of a sales organization, not business to consumer so much. Let's say you have a huge industrial customer that just gives you, a huge big order once a month. Now that is extremely disruptive for your business. This is where supply chain professionals have the tools, the whereabouts to then have these conversations with sales and the customer, saying that, could we get into more of a co-planning mode with that particular customer, right? Because what is important is that if they break that big deal into, predictable smaller chunk, that just helps you, right? So these are very specific examples in terms of how supply chain then starts influencing customer behavior, right? The other one, right, and that is more strategic, right? In today, even very highly mature supply chains, they do not understand what is the cost to serve for a particular customer. They just don't, right? There are very high level metrics that they will use to figure it out. What we are seeing increasingly is the questions are being raised, right? That for particular customer segments or for particular customer, how should I serve, right? I'll give you again a very simple example. Supply chains in India are moving from the traditional CFA or a distribution center kind of a fulfillment model to a direct delivery model, because now they have figured it out that if I have a customer that is large enough, which I can co-plan with, probably I can offer them direct delivery, right? I can work with their supply chain team to do that. And that is, it has cost, quality, and delivery implications, right? So this is how, supply chain is no longer the back office. It is very much part of that, strategic differentiator that we see. And again, there are simple examples, specific direct examples, but this is happening now.
Yes, sir. I think, yes, supply chain is a strategic differentiator. And we are no longer in an era where we are getting standardized services and goods. We want personalized services and goods. And for that, we need to predict the demand of customer better. And this will help us to give them better services and better customer satisfaction. Just to wrap up our session, I just want to play a quick rapid fire round with you all guys. And maybe a quick question. I can start with Anish sir. The question for all is, what is the craziest prediction that you can do for supply chain analytics for 2050? What is the craziest prediction that you can do? It's very far-fetched that you can do for 2050 for supply chain analytics.
So it will be like a small farmer from India, his product placed in Walmart US with the complete tracking without probably the minimum damage of the thing.
2050, so more or less 30 years from now. Supply chain analytics. Probably people thinking of something and the order getting delivered at home. Not even ordering, just thinking. Probably. That will be artificial intelligence, to be very frank.
Just ChatGPT just predicting that we're going to order
You're
that?
just thinking. And that thinking goes into some kind of a, it is collected in a data and that goes and the material or the thing comes at your home. That kind of thing can happen.
I think what I'm going to say is a little controversial. My prediction for 2015 is it's going to be a complex mix of humans and technology automation that's still going to drive supply chain. I do not think so that automation technology, ChatGPT 4 is completely going to take over it. there is always the human value add that's going to be needed, even in 2015, right? Or 2050 rather. So it's, and it's going to increase, right? The complexity is going to increase. The way of doing things, there are different business models the panel has talked about. And there, as supply chain professionals, your engagement, your involvement, your understanding of what's happening is even going to be even more crucial. So that's going to happen, right? I mean, robots are not going to take over the world by 2015. I think it's going to take another couple of centuries, but not by 2050.
Agree, sir. I think we're talking a lot about ML, visualization techniques, Power BI, Tableau we talked about, but we are yet to get a technology that can incorporate thick data in it, qualitative data. We can incorporate a lot of numbers to it, but getting the qualitative insights out of it, it's still a difficult and far-fetched thing. So I can just add on with an example. A few days back, I was learning about sense making, where we learned about an example of savannah versus zoo. So in both the cases, tigers are eating. In savannah, they're hunting the food and eating. In zoo, we are just maybe giving them pizza. In both, they are eating. So if I was using AI ML, it would have taken that both are eating, they're healthy. But the reality is the other one is artificial. The truth is what's happening in savannah. So to get to that truth, we need human intelligence, and it cannot be replaced by ML. Go ahead, sir.
So to me, there has been like time for marketing people, there have been time for IT. The time to come is for the supply chain professionals. So I see a critical role supply chain will be playing. And I tell you one very interesting thing, this carbon footprint, other stuff are like a whitewash actually. The real thing is the earth is running out of resource. And they have been like उस पे एकदम पूरा लिपस्टिक पाउडर लगाकर ESG कार्बन फुटप्रिंट बोल रहे हैं, लेकिन ये नहीं बोल रहे कि तेल खत्म हो जाएगा. Correct? So they want an intelligent way of like creating all this cosmetic around this, but it will be a bigger disruption than COVID. And there will be an unknown situation in next 30 years. Correct? And you will be the people who will be creating value in boardroom. And so it's for you to like excel. So it will be your time.
So you'll be glad to know that this time we had a subject on sustainability. So and we learned that 90% of the carbon footprint is originated from supply chain.
That's correct. Yes, that's true.
So we
And
need a sustainable supply chain.
yeah, you need a sustainable supply chain. And I think the biggest problem is that everybody is pulling each other. The countries are pulling the other country. They are giving us laundry to wash. We are laundering, and they are again pointing fingers at why you are doing that. But a time will come, then slowly I would be like a Cassandra in this, in announcing that slowly we will become local from global, because we don't want our resources to be used for another countries. So people are making fools of each other. The biggest problem which I have is that even the government is like making fool of us or corporate. So they are not directly telling us that start working, start doing R&D, because what we are saying is that we are looking at only petrol. We are not looking at petroleum chemicals. Like if petroleum crude oil is not there, there will be no solvent. And how I'm going to make medicines? So they are not pointing finger at me that you start working now in improving your technology. Rather, they are saying that reduce your carbon footprint. So I have a very strong objection, but that is a very entirely different context. But the problem here is that you guys are going to create value for the country, and it's your time by I think by 2050, the board will be like listening to you, not to the marketing guys.
Thanks for saying that. My view would be maybe, and I don't think it's a dream anymore. I think we will definitely see some warehousing running, say a 4 lakh square feet warehouse is run by one person. Yeah, it's not a dream anymore. I'm sure it will happen in my lifetime at least. Okay. Similarly, entire factory is run by one person. Okay, it sounds funny and idiotic at this stage, So was one Wi-Fi somebody thought about 20 years back. Okay, thought that guy was mad, but I'm sure we will get there. But what he said, we don't know. It's 10 years or 100 years, we don't know. But I think the speed at which we are moving or things are, changing with a lot of new themes are emerging from all across. It won't be, definitely before 2050. Okay. So, and okay, I don't want to scare you. That doesn't mean that we will lose, a lot of people will lose a lot of job across society, be it blue collar, white collar. No, I think the jobs will be there. It will be probably for a different skill altogether. So upskilling is the new game, unlearning and relearning, that's part. And a lot of talk on ESG. So I would like to just, you guys are, the bright future of the country, definitely. I would like to say that, we know about our, IQ and EQ, right? IQ, I think you are the best probably. EQ, some of you are still evolving, some of you are already there. It will be, it's a nourishing thing. We'll move. But we are living in a very cruel world, but it's beautiful also. And a lot of stress, a lot of, discussion about our natural resources, going down the drain. There's no recycling happening, a lot of quality, veganism, etc. So one more I is important is the moral quotient actually, the MQ, right? So the readers will win in future who will have IQ, EQ, and MQ. Without that, I don't think you go, and it's not a theoretical gyan, I'm telling you, having seen, a lot of people, I think this is people are practicing now. Otherwise, people will leave us. Who would like to work with me if I don't have that, moral cue, in fact, both for the people and the society. So it's a must have going forward. These are the three things I would like to share.
Just to add on the sustainability part. So sustainability can be eliminating carbon effort and whatever you talk about. It's a consolidated effort of various industries. Like today, if a transporter wants to go get into a EV or something, there is no infrastructure available for him to go 1,000 kilometers or something. So it's a consolidated effort. First of all, we don't even have a EV truck that can carry 15 ton or the capacity that we require in this industry. Apart from that, we have to have a lot of infrastructure to support to make that running throughout the journey. So to consolidate, it's an industry-wise effort. It's if today mankind decides, okay, I want to go green completely, it's not possible in today's date because the infrastructure is not supported right now to go green or eliminate the emission completely.
So we are stuck at scope 2 actually. Scope 3 is very difficult actually.
Right. But sir, there are many companies who are voluntarily coming up for scope 2.
So what we are doing at Mankind is that we are slowly moving using the railways. We are pushing government. We also want to use pushing the postal department also for last mile delivery, pushing them to create infra. So this is something which is happening, but I think it will happen in due course of time, but not now.
Sir,
It's a joint effort. So when this industry comes in together, it has to so the various industry come together in this effort, only then that can be achieved in supply chain.
Yeah, so I think something is happening in China. We are also very closely mind. You also watch use of hydrogen fuel.
Slightly connected topic. I think Professor mentioned that during his speech. In fact, government is taking a lot of initiative, by the way. Gati Shakti is a prime example. Okay, all the 7 engines, coming together and trying to crash, the lead time, cost, the visibility improvement. It's, I think, a tremendous job. The level of investment which is going in infra. The problem, US and India roads, that's famous statement, I'll not repeat here. So I think the good that, we are also getting support from government. And it's a disproportionate, support. So in this entire Gati Shakti program, the NLP has just been rolled out, the National Logistics Policy, in fact. Still a theory, probably for many people. So it is, in fact. But there are 4,800 plus, startup or ecosystem working towards these policies, in fact, in various streams of the 7 plus, I don't know how many streams, in fact. The entire, the ULIP part, the Unified Logistics, Interface Platform, is actually going to give us a lot of benefit going forward, which will drive direct benefit in the ESG space. So I think I'm pretty hopeful on that space.
And I would like to add that Pushkar sir and Abhay sir, your ideas are not that far-fetched. Like railway, I guess, is gonna be net zero by 2035 or so. They have committed for that because of India's commitment towards it. So yes, we'll be
Okay,
India would
yeah,
be
yeah.
ahead.
So from where 2035 is coming, they have got some back calculation, right? There is a back calculation. So government is also creating its own infrastructure. And your fighter aircraft cannot fly on solar power, right? They have to guard their borders. And I also say that if you're planning to buy a car, please don't buy a petrol and diesel car. Please do not buy, because every 5 years, the prices are going to be doubled and they are going to discourage, because they need oil to secure their borders. So एक बोलते हैं ना, एक होता है शब्दार्थ और एक होता है भावार्थ और एक होता है अध्यात्म. अध्यात्म is your resources are going to get finished. Bhavarth is ESG. ESG is Bhavarth. And Sabdarth is like be carbon neutral. Correct? So just dig further and you will realize this. I'm sorry to sometimes I come to Hindi because Hindi is a very interesting language, because there are no jargons in Hindi actually. I can bombard you with very big English word, but I cannot bombard you with Hindi.
Sir, no need to say sorry. It's a language.
Yeah, it's national language. Just to tell you the practical part on this space, for example, I am personally carrying a KPI for next year work plan. What percentage of my Fed spend I'll move to alternate mode. So it's no more a discussion in the boardroom or a challenge session, etc. I'm carrying that goal. I'll not share the percentage and all, of course, but I'm personally carrying, as the head of the function, a clear goal out of my top 5 priorities. Percentage of freight spend I'll move to alternative mode.
So just adding on to your point, of one person handling the whole warehouse, big warehouse, Amazon actually is planning to handle a warehouse robotically. It's also planning to use drones to courier the parcels. So we are not that far-fetched there. And also, just to end this panel discussion with a note that yes, IQ, EQ, and MQ, all three things are the most important part. And we in XLRI, we have subject specific to them. Like for EQ, we have learned 2 subjects in managerial communication, where we have learned emotional quotient, how to build that, and how to be a good leader. In second, even in MQ, I would tell that we have an ethics subject. We have learned that, wherein we are learning a lot about ethics and all practices across all the industries and organizations. So yes, we the future leaders will actually make all your predictions true, and maybe we'll meet sometime after a few years and tell you that it's not that far-fetched in 2050. We can do it just 5-10 years ahead of time. So on this note, I would like to wrap up this panel discussion and would like to hand over the mic to my peer Saurabh Faraz to host further.
Thanks,
we
Sanjana,
can
for
just take
wrapping
a
it
few
up.
questions from audience.
We'll be moving ahead with the questions. So please raise your hand for a question. Akash, can you please go ahead?
First of all, thank you everyone for bringing so diverse views on the topic of supply chain. अबे सर आपकी लैंग्वेज में बोलूँगा, काफ़ी अच्छा लगा ऐसा इंटरेक्शन करके, भावार्थ पूरा समझा कि आप क्या कहना चाह रहे थे। और जब आपने वो कार्बन फुटप्रिंट को लाली लिपस्टिक वाली बात बोली, वो समझ में आ रहा है हमें कि हर कंपनी अपने ट्विटर हैंडल पे डाल लिया कि वी आर रिड्यूसिंग कार्बन फुटप्रिंट्स इन अ वे, बट व्हाट एक्चुअली इज हैपनिंग, इट्स यू नीड टू ऑप्टिमाइज योर रिसोर्स, कि पता है सब कुछ डिप्लीट हो रहा है एंड यू डोंट हैव एनी ऑप्शन। सर इतनी देर हमने एनालिटिक्स की बात करी, सब कुछ कहा कि इट विल चेंज द फ्यूचर एंड एवरीथिंग, डोंट यू थिंक दैट इट नीड्स टू बी कपल्ड विद द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर व्हाट इंडिया हैव? आपने रिपोर्ट्स बना ली, आपने सब कुछ एक डैशबोर्ड पे देख लिया, आपने एक प्रेडिक्टिव एनालिटिक्स भी ले आया, अभी आपका जो ट्रांसपोर्टर है, जब आपकी डिमांड बढ़ी, ही कम्स विद अ ट्रक जिसका जहाँ पे लोडिंग हो रही है वही यूनिफॉर्म नहीं है। आपकी रिपोर्ट्स ने बोले यू विल कैलकुलेट द लोड कि ये 15 टन लेगा, 100 बॉक्सेस लोड हो जाएंगे, बट वो ट्रांसपोर्टर लेके आता है गाड़ी जो कि है ही यूनिफॉर्म नहीं। एंड बिकॉज आपकी डिमांड बढ़ी है, यू कैन नॉट मूव विद योर ओरिजिनल सेट ऑफ रिसोर्सेज, यू नीड टू गो इन द मार्केट एंड प्लेस ट्रक। और सम मोर एग्जाम्पल्स लाइक you know that you would be committing some TAT to your customers and you know how the road infrastructure is. आपकी technology बोलती है कि it will take 6 hours, 8 hours, but there are some unforeseen circumstances and you increase your TAT. या फिर जब आपकी demand बढ़ी and you have your labor who is working in your warehouse or your factory, and when the demand increases and these Amazon or other companies, they hire these resources in Diwali and other when the sale is high and they pay them more. सर ये सब चीजें आप लोग कैसे बिल्ड करोगे एनालिटिक्स और सारी चीजों में, और ये वाले रिस्क कैसे मिटिगेट करोगे? आई जस्ट वांट टू नो दिस पार्ट बिकॉज वी हैव टॉक्ड इनफ ऑन एनालिटिक्स एंड एवरीथिंग, बट वेयर आर दीज रिस्क?
First of all, I am not an expert on logistics. I will pass the logistic part to him. Yeah, but yeah, you're valid. Your point is totally valid actually. And that's the reason I have a complaint that if we talk directly that this is a real problem, that if the problem statement is clear, right, so the people will comply, the government will comply, and that problem statement is like not coming. There are solutions where the optimal truckloads and other things are there, so they do it, and I would request the experts to take care of that part of the question. Yeah, so I think I know that certain solutions are there, but what are those solutions? Yeah.
So specifically, you worked in delivery, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So I'll speak with Sahil on this. So typically what happens is data analytics will give you a proper SNOP. So you understand, you are from the FC background, you are handled FCs. So you know SNOP, right? So once you have the SNOP, you know the demand. And based on that, you will have to order trucks. And based on that, you have to have people in your warehouse, be it any e-commerce platform you're working for. You calculate the number of people required based on the productivity which is there. One thing you said, you pay more. I don't think in e-commerce for a temporary period of 1 month, 2 months during the Diwali, based on my experience, payment is more than the normal ones. If you have, there is an incentive which is there, but that is only during the festive season. Only festive, but it is given to everyone, not only the temporary ones for 1 or 2 months. It is given to the old employees also, and it is incentivized for the Durga Puja, Diwali period. Now, your question was, how can supply chain help over here? If I'm not wrong, based on my experience, the difference between SNOP and the actual outbound which happened during the last 3 Diwalis for the biggest e-commerce platform, I'm not naming them, was way off to the percentage of 35 to 40%. So that is how they build an SNOP built on their past experiences, whatever trends they saw. Based on that, there was a complete set which was built. Actually, what happened? Not a COVID impact. COVID was very good for e-commerce. Huh? It was very good. But during the festive, actually, if the SNOP set for this date is 2 million units, it was actually only 1.2 to 1.3 million units. So there was a capacity decrease. Why this happened? Because once the SNOP was made, the forecast was being done, it was based on a trend line. You had a data, you had a trend line. Based on that, you have told that this is what is going to be. Data analytics brings in different aspects to it. It brings in what is the cost parity in the current condition. What is the purchase power in the current condition. So these are also affecting the forecast or the buying power of the people. Third is, what is the sentiment at that point of time? So when I say sentiment, what does it mean? Are people well accustomed to buy now? Or is there some problem in the entire thing, in the entire culture that is holding them back from buying new things? Post-COVID, there were a lot of disruptions which have happened, because of which the buying parity and the buying parity or the buying power of the people came down to some extent, due to which people were stocking in monies, especially who were in the profession of say services or businessmen, small businessmen, they were not spending too much of money at that point of time. But these sentiments were not considered by building the SNOP. Now, when we do proper data analytics, we bring in everything over there. And based on that, the forecast, which was way off by say 35-40%, I cannot say, and I will never say that it can be accurate, but the percentage of error will be reduced to a certain extent. Say, even if my SNOP is off by 10-15%, I'm very good. I'll be the happiest person in the entire world if my forecast is off by a range of 10-15% up and down. It means I have succeeded in my job and in my life. But that is how the things will evolve in future.
And that to line level and depot level. If I got you, it's a fairly long question. Let me try and touch upon the other part. First of all, what you said, infrastructure is required or not. And will only analytics help? No, that's a must investment part. Idea is to make it move into a much more automated environment, reducing our dependency on say people for the repetitive job. So wo to chahiye. There's no doubt about it. Touching upon the point about the non-standard truck size, can analytics help? Certainly. So in fact, in Philippines, in Liver, I've done this project with DHL only. There's a concept of auto fill and auto drop. So you probably plan for a load of say 21 tons. I'm just giving you a ballpark example. You might have got a truck of 20 or 22. What will you do? Will you leave the truck? Of course not. Idea is to, so apart from inventory, the other bad word in supply chain is the air. Once you load a truck, you have to ensure that you utilize the weight fully and you also utilize the volume. There shouldn't be a single, scope, even 0.1% of air. Even, we have learned through technology how to suck the, air out of powder, for example, if I remember Haridwar plant days, in fact. So idea is to, analytics can very much give you, once you get that truck, which is non-standard, we can do that adjustment through analytics. You have to just press a button, just change the truck dimension. Same 21 truck probably would have got a Punjab body or a local body. It makes a hell of a difference, right? So you just make your database proper and click on a button. This truck type and the configuration is this. The load will change automatically. So it's doable. Similarly, TAT, I think just to add on, apart from what he said, see, few things in life you can't control. But as a customer, what they want, a complete visibility. He used the word democratization of data information proactively. Before he called you, in fact, you call them up, say, okay, guys, I'll be late by a day. I think that helps because, we are talking about trucks and machines, right? There's a reliability. The reason why we take 99% target because 1% is always there's a risk of failure. So we have to accept that and keep moving toward this. How can I move from 99 to 99.99? But you have to proactively tell them, not when they will call us and ask.
So in pharma, there are two types of filler. One is like bottles. So if there is a lack of weight, you fill bottles that cup syrup bottles. And if it is volume, you go for tablet and capsules.
So before I start answering your question, so whenever I go for, it's just on a lighter note, whenever I go for a FAQ and all. So how many of you have watched Tanu Weds Manu? So in that, you guys remember the scene, the good question, you ask good question. So that's what it comes in my mind always. So in fact, this was a really good question. So coming back to your vendor, when he sends a vehicle which is not as per the remark, so you remember my point, what I told is the data input. So at the time of registration, I like in delivery also, there must be a process where you register the transporter and then you take the data, okay, what sizes, what kind of vehicle you have and all. So if you input the data correctly and then it's just a press of button, you press it out, you will get the list of data, vendors, transporters who have similar size of vehicles. And you throw information to them, okay, I need this vehicle at this point of time. If your data is wrong, then your chances of getting a wrong vehicle increases. Secondly, the TAT, that's when your real-time tracking starts up. So if you have an access to your customer where he can have a real-time tracking, and plus your operation team has an access to that. Like in a case of delivery, there must be around 1,000 vehicles running in the same route, right? So if you can track the first vehicle which have stuck in a traffic towards Calcutta, where there is a block or a bund, you can always have a chance the other vehicles coming behind to reroute the route and reach it properly. And there are many times you can see the shortest route is not the fastest one. So in India, the Google map might show that this is the shortest route, but it's not necessarily it's the fastest one. So these are the few measures that you can take to control all those. Thank you.
Thanks, Akash, for the comprehensive questions from the batch. And with paucity of time, we won't be moving ahead with the next question. And before we end the marvelous first half of today's conclave, I, on behalf of XLRI PGDM GM 2223 Conclave Committee team, would like to pose a vote of thanks on this occasion with a lot of gratitude and regard to our eminent panelists, moderators, and participants for sparing their precious time for us and illuminating us with their commendable talk on supply chain analytics, shaping the future of logistics and supply chain management. A big thank you to all who accompanied us throughout this event for making the event memorable. Thank all for explaining such an intricate concept with such a lucid explanation. I believe that our audience would now leave this conclave with some concrete learnings. We owe you a lot for making this event the embodiment of knowledge. Really, we are highly obliged. In closing, I want to thank all of you here for taking the time to be with us today and helping us make the event a great success. Thank you. Over to you, Saryu. I'll invite Sonu sir to present Momento to all our panelists and moderators.
I invite Shonu sir to present a memento to Mr. Milind Kanekar. Mr. Milind. Mr. Abhay Srivastava. Mr. Somo Kundu. Mr. Pushkar Mukherjee. Mr. Rajneesh Raman. Ms. Sanjana Vashni, student of PGDM GM batch. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, guests.
Thank you, everyone.
Next, we have lunch break for 30 minutes.